What's up, high leveler or future high leveler, and welcome to the last video you will ever have to watch to learn how to use HighLevel. If you're watching this, you're probably looking to learn more about what HighLevel is, how you can use it to grow your business, and especially what you've missed out on in the past couple of years. Especially considering how much has changed, you might be new and wondering, do I even need this software and why? And to answer you, I'm going to explain what HighLevel is great at and how you can use it. To be clear, there's two sides to HighLevel. One side is great at building and managing your own business, and the other side is an all-in-one platform to help you build software platforms to sell to other people. On one hand, solopreneurs are starting businesses from scratch using just their laptops. And to run those businesses online, you need everything from websites, emails, texting, documents, payments, contracts, automations, and so much more. And these are all necessary to build and grow any online business. On the other hand, maybe you understand that a couple of these key components are really useful for one specific group of people, and you know how to reach and market to that group of people, and you'd like to sell them an all-in-one solution going down the second route that I mentioned. We're going to classify the first approach as the small business or agency approach, where you're mostly using it just to run your own business. And the second approach is called SaaS, or software as a service. It's an entire business model in its own, and if you're in the SaaS industry, then chances are you've heard of HighLevel because of how powerful it is. Now, before we get started, a quick 10-second intro into me if you don't know who I am. My name is Andrew. I'm a certified admin and content creator, actually for HighLevel. I create content that goes on their YouTube channels, their blogs, their emails, and all of their social medias because I know what I'm talking about. Before I became a content creator, I ran my own agency using HighLevel to build websites and sell automations, grew that to over $150,000 a year, and now I spend my days helping people like you use HighLevel better and building softwares and solutions to help the entire HighLevel community. I want to help people just like you create cool businesses online, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. No matter if you don't even have an account, or if you're brand new, or if you've been with HighLevel for many, many years. Today, I'm going to be talking you through everything from setup to utilizing some of the most powerful features in the platform inside this video. Now, before we dive into the platform, let's talk about the three core plans HighLevel offers. First is the starter plan. This is $97 a month and gives you access to your agency as well as 3 sub-accounts. We're going to talk more about the difference between agency and sub-accounts later, so stay tuned for that. On the starter plan, you can do 99% of what you need to do with HighLevel in order to utilize it as a platform for yourself and up to 2 other sub-accounts. You can build websites, automations, emails, texts, all sorts of stuff. And there's no limitations when it comes to how many emails you can send, texts you can send, contacts you can have, users you can have, or anything. Everything's unlimited except for how many sub-accounts you can have. Moving up from the 97 is the 297 plan, which is commonly referred to as the unlimited plan. This is everything you get in the 97 plus unlimited sub-accounts. Now, why is this important? Well, a sub-account is essentially where a business manages all of their assets in one place. Websites, funnels, contacts, everything is hosted inside of a sub-account. So on the 97, when you've got 3, you can use one of those sub-accounts for yourself and 2 for clients or other businesses you're running. Having everything in separate sub-accounts usually helps you keep things organized, especially as you start to build bigger infrastructures with lots of contacts, emails, marketing, and so much more. The only other thing you get access to on the 297 plan is the API, which is a good thing because if you had access to the API on the 97 plan, you'd probably get overwhelmed and leave the platform anyways. We'll talk more about how you can use the API later in this video, but that's the only other thing that you get access to on the 297 plan. And fun fact, most people think you can only brand and white label the 297, but you can also do it to the 97. HighLevel technically doesn't say this on their website, but as far as I'm concerned, you can still add your own logo, domain, colors, and all sorts of stuff when you're on the 97 plan, so you can still make it feel like your own. Now, if you've got everything unlimited on the 297 plan, why would you need to upgrade to the 497 plan, their top plan called the SaaS Pro plan? Remember how I told you there's 2 approaches you can take to HighLevel, the small business / agency approach and the SaaS approach? Well, that's what the SaaS plan is for. SaaS companies that want to sell HighLevel as their own white labeled software need to be on the SaaS plan because it gives you a couple of key features that let you sell the platform and, most importantly, profit from being on the more expensive $497 a month plan. There's 2 really important things that you get from the SaaS Pro plan. First of all, you get automatic sub-account creation, meaning as soon as someone makes a payment for your software, the system can automatically create a sub-account and send them login details so they can be completely onboarded all automatically. This is something you can't do on the 297 or the 97, which is why this plan is so attractive to so many people. The second thing you get access to is rebilling. Rebilling is a huge deal because it allows you to rebill costs like email, text, AI usage, and much more to your customers. So if you have a customer that's sending thousands and thousands of emails every single month, you can add a little bit of a markup to give you some more buffer room inside of your agency from a revenue perspective. Now, for nearly everyone, I would always suggest you start with the 97 plan and you get used to using the software. Once you figure out exactly what you want to do, you can then upgrade to the 297 or the 497 at any point in time in order to get the rest of those features. All right, now that we've gone over the plan differences, let's get started with the actual outline of this course. We're first going to talk about the agency view view and all of the fun things you can do, everything from white labeling to the SaaS plans, SaaS configurators, and then we're going to dive into sub-accounts. Once we get into sub-accounts, we're going to talk a little bit more about general navigation and all of the features you can utilize in your sub-accounts like payments, marketing, sites, and automations. Lastly, we're going to go over some of the more nuanced features like the mobile app, things you can get access to within settings, custom fields and custom values, and a little bit of info about the API, and of course, some tips and tricks from someone who's been there and been using the platform for many, many years. To get started, let's start with our agency view and hop right into our HighLevel account. This is our HighLevel agency view, and we know it's the agency view, first of all, because it says agency dashboard at the top left, and second of all, because it says click here to switch. When it always says click here to switch at the top left, this means that you can switch to another sub account, but this means we're also on the agency view. When you're first here, you'll see your agency dashboard. This is connected with Stripe in order to give you some information about your agency summary, such as revenue distribution, your growth rates, how much revenue you've done in the past few months, and new customers. This is all connected with Stripe and can be refreshed at the top right. This will then give you information about rebilling. And on this page, you can see things like your total rebilling revenue, your total cost, profit across different date periods, sub accounts, and much more. Again, this is something that's useful for people on the SaaS plan, but you won't have access to this if you're not on the SaaS plan. And lastly, we have the SaaS tab. This gives you total information like your monthly recurring revenue, new monthly recurring revenue, churned monthly recurring revenue, and much more. Everything in HighLevel is kind of centered around monthly recurring revenue, or MRR. Next, for those of you on the SaaS plan, let's talk about the SaaS configurator. Long story short, whenever you get to the SaaS configurator, you'll be able to build different plans and include different features in those plans in order to sell them to your customers. I have a full video on the channel going over SaaS setup specifically, so click in this video in order to get access to that, and you can go ahead and watch that and learn more about how the SaaS plans work. Essentially, we get sale links, we're able to add custom menu links and features to different plans, and whenever someone makes a purchase through these custom sale links that we can get through Stripe, then their accounts will be created and all of the SaaS configurations that we've made here will apply to their account. We can also manage things like settings, security, configurations, cancellation settings, and downgrade settings on this page. You also will likely see an agency launchpad on this page, which is only for new agencies, and it has a couple of videos that I actually made for you guys, so you can check out how to get started with HighLevel. It'll walk you through things like adding your white label domain, adding your logo, setting up billing, and much more. So make sure you check out your agency launchpad in the top left of your agency. This is typically only for new accounts. That's why you don't see it in my account, because I've had mine for a while. Next, on the left-hand side, we have prospecting. This is the prospecting tool, and it's one of the more underutilized pieces of tech within HighLevel. And it's actually pretty cool. They put a lot of effort into the prospecting tool, and essentially it allows you to search maps and search for specific keywords and locations. So let's say we're looking for dentists in Dallas. Then we can look up a radius, and this will immediately find different business owners that we can find through the prospecting tool and push them into our CRM based on their online presence. So as we can see here, this generated 60 businesses in our area, and we can see all of their reviews, where their website is hosted, if they have a Google My Business page, and their conversion rates from all of their different websites. This gives you a great idea of who you can get started with, especially if you're starting with local businesses. This is actually a pretty recent update to the prospecting tool, so I'd highly recommend you go check it out with the keyword and location search functions. Now, what if we want to find businesses that we really want to actually convert? These conversion rates are basically estimates based on their online presence of if they are going to be open to working with a digital marketing agency like you. So we can filter and manage different columns to show inside this page. And of course, we can just go page by page and find some that we want to work with. As we can see here, a lot of these have a ton of reviews, but if we find one with less, like this one only has 124 reviews, then we might want to work with them. And we can see they're also not using a WordPress site. So maybe that can give us some places in order to get started with the business. Now, using the prospecting tool, after you find prospects, you'll actually get full marketing audits for the actual business. For example, we've got a report here, which is this marketing audit report that HighLevel gives us, and gives us scores based on their business details, their tech stack, their Google business profile, and much more. You can see all of this information here. We can see how they score on different things. We can see they don't have a chat widget on their site. They don't have review replies. They don't have good website hosting. So things like this can be really useful to send to clients or even use internally in order to find good customers to get started. Especially if you are new to HighLevel and you're looking to find a really easy way to get started with businesses, you can use the prospecting tool in order to find business owners and start working with them, keep notes on their page, and more. If you don't already have a marketing strategy for your business and you want to work with local businesses specifically or businesses in a specific location, the prospecting tool is a great place to start. Now, the next screen we have access to is sub-accounts. This is where we can manage all of our sub-accounts in our agency from one place. Now, you won't typically go to this screen, but let me show you a little bit of the useful pieces of information on this screen. First of all, if you want to create your first sub-accounts, this is where you're going to do so. You'll click this, you'll then click create sub-account, and we'll dive into that in a second. Additionally, on this screen, you can sort and search and find different sub-accounts by their names, and you'll be able to see all of the active users, calls, emails, and everything that they're using inside of the sub-account, as well as sort, filter, and export these users as well. Now, we're not going to dive into a sub-account yet because we're going to go over more of the powerful features that you have from the agency view. We're also going to skip over snapshots for now because those are going to come into place whenever we start creating our first sub-accounts. But let's dive into reselling. Again, if you have apps that you want to resell to existing sub-accounts or new sub-accounts, this is where you can manage those. So for example, if you want to resell a branded client portal app, you can resell this at $199, and then your cost is $49 from HighLevel, so you profit $150 a month whenever you sell this client portal app. Now, why does this app have a specific price, and what are these things, and how does this really work? Well, there's some apps within HighLevel that do cost money. There's not many. It's really the ones that are more time intensive when it comes to HighLevel building them. For example, building a branded client portal app. We're talking about an app that gets launched to the App Store. That's what that feature is. It's really cool. So it costs money typically to get things like that set up. We also have things like unlimited AI employee and partners like Search Atlas or Uberall, which are partners which you can purchase at a discounted price from HighLevel and then resell to your customers in your agency. So that's what we do with the reselling page. We can resell all those different features to our customers. Even things like WordPress. WordPress charges per site. So HighLevel has to charge a cost, and you can take that cost and increase the price so you are profiting every time someone creates a WordPress website. Some of these will make more sense once you actually get to use them on the sub-account level, but in addition to reselling core services, we can also resell marketplace apps. There's a full HighLevel marketplace with tons of apps, which you can learn about in some other videos. They're just apps that add features to the HighLevel platform, but you don't need any of those to get started. Now, add-ons are very similar on the left-hand side. We can see this under our next page. These are paid upsells for yourself that you want to use with HighLevel. So if you need to have, let's say, premium support, you can pay for premium support. You can get a white labeled mobile app. You can get a HighLevel certification, just like I've gotten. You can get GHL setup services and much more, all directly from HighLevel on this add-ons page. Next, you'll find is the affiliate portal, which lets you track all of your affiliates from people that are signing up for HighLevel under your link. For example, of course, I'm a HighLevel affiliate. People watch my videos, sign up under my links, and then I give them access to bonuses by signing up under my links. Now, this is a great time to mention my affiliate program. If you sign up for HighLevel under my affiliate links for HighLevel, meaning you're not paying me anything, you're just paying HighLevel, and I'm getting your commission, I have a lot of different information hosted at GoFreeSaaS.com. Information like videos, all of my affiliate links are on this website, as well as a complete SaaS success guide, which you can get access to on this website, and tons of bonuses. I have weekly coaching, SaaS Suite access, exclusive offers, and even things like free email warm-up and leads and snapshots and much more in order to help you get started with your HighLevel agency. One of those tools that you get access to under my affiliate program is SaaSSuite.ai. This is my HighLevel white label software, which I have created and I'm giving to all of my affiliate signees, which is a tool designed to help you onboard and support your customers inside of HighLevel. It's what I use, and it's what over 500 other agencies in the space use in order to keep thousands of accounts online and supported 24/7. Stick around for the video and I'll tell you a little bit more about how this helps, especially when we get into the sub-account level of HighLevel. Now, beyond the affiliate portal, there's not much else you're going to need in terms of the template library, partners, university, SaaS education, GHL swag, and then there's the ideas board. All of these are typically pages that most people aren't going to navigate to, but really quickly, the template library lets you see all of the website and funnel templates you can use on the sub-account level, and you can also create templates and upload them to your sub-accounts if you want to sell them to your accounts as a part of your offer. Now, the partners page is where you can find HighLevel certified admins. This is the certified admin directory, and if you click find an admin and then do something like, I don't know, search up Andrew George, then guess what? You're going to find me, a certified admin on the certified admin directory. All jokes aside, the directory is where you can find people in your local area and people like myself that are experienced with HighLevel in order to help you get your HighLevel account set up and answer some of your questions. You can view our listings and send us messages all on this page. HighLevel also has a university page, which has a little bit of information and is currently in the process of being revamped, but this can help you learn how to use HighLevel. But typically most people just learn HighLevel from YouTubers like us and creators that have been using it for a long time because we have a lot of experience teaching people how to use the platform. Same thing goes for SaaS education. Now, the ideas board is a great place for you to go in HighLevel to request new features, and you can actually see where new features are coming from and what people are requesting for the near future. You can see in all of these different categories, there's all of these different ideas board posts, and you can see which ones are planned, in progress, and have been recently completed. So if you're looking forward to learning about new features and things that are finally being pushed to your HighLevel account, just go to the complete tab and look through some of the new things that have happened recently in the space. You can see what HighLevel is focusing on, and if you want to create your own ideas board post, you can of course create one by logging in and leaving one under one of the categories. Next, let's go to settings. Now, this is where you can set up a lot of different information. Now, in settings, you'll be able to configure your company and your personal details under My Profile and Company. You can see you can add your company name, company email, company phone, website, and things like that. Not super important, but it's where you can customize those things. What is super important is the white label tab. Going to settings, company, white label is something you will commonly do in the near future. Now let's take a quick break. This white label tab is where we can add our logo, custom domains, custom colors, and so much more. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can using a couple of online tools. Now, first is your white label logo. You can update your brand logo here by simply clicking replace and then selecting any logo from your desktop computer, and you'll see it will now show in the top left instead of the HighLevel logo. Now, it says the proposed size is 350 by 180, but you can use 1:1 images like this. These typically work really well in the top left, or you can use, I would recommend horizontal images like 16:9 or maybe a little bit smaller. But that way it can just fill up this little rectangular space over here. Next, we have our white label domain and our API domain. Now let's explain the two differences between these two things. Right now, when I'm logged into HighLevel, I'm logged into app.GoHighLevel.com. This is HighLevel's domain, and we want to replace this with our own domain. That is what the white label domain is. And we can replace this by clicking the edit icon, putting in our domain like app.mysoftware.com, and then clicking continue, or simply adding this one CNAME record to our DNS settings inside of our domain. If you don't already own a domain, you can purchase a domain from somewhere like Squarespace or GoDaddy or Wix. I personally use Squarespace if I'm purchasing a domain outside the platform, or you can actually buy a domain right inside of HighLevel inside of a sub account, which is really cool. All you have to do is add this domain as a CNAME. You can find it under the DNS records at the host and the required value, and you'll be good to go for the white label domain. Then from that point on, you can log into your app.mysoftware.com domain whenever you want instead of the app.goHighLevel domain. The second domain is our API domain. Now, this one is a little bit more confusing, but if you hover over this little question mark icon, you can see this is where all links that get generated across your sub accounts go to. So things like forms, calendars, preview links, etc. These are all going to be under your API domain. So we'll learn a little bit more about this when we get onto our sub account level. You'll see what this API domain looks like. This is things like payment links, custom calendars, preview links, and things like that. And again, to set this up, you can just edit, type in something like link.mysoftware.com, etc., and then add the same link the same way you just did. Then you can update your privacy policies here, and then we get into the fun stuff, custom JS and custom CSS. And today we're going to really focus on custom CSS. This is how you customize your HighLevel platform. Now, there are tons of tools out there to help you customize your platform with whatever branding that you want. My favorite is my own tool, SaaSsuite.ai. Now, again, if you remember, SaaSsuite.ai is a free tool that I give access to anyone underneath my affiliate links. If not, then it is a paid tool. But even if you're not under our links, there will be a coupon code in the description to let you get access to SaaSsuite instead of paying anything for it, which is great. And then you can utilize our branding tools. So once you get into SaaSsuite, you can just go to the branding tool tab. You'll see this, and I'll have the information in the description for how to get access to this. And all you have to do is put in your brand color and then click generate CSS code. And I actually have a few different versions of this for you. The first version is very simple. I'll show you what this looks like right now. All we're going to do is we're going to copy that code and then paste this in our white label section just like that, and then we will refresh. Now you'll see this code will update the way that our agency looks. Boom, just like that. We now have a white labeled, good looking agency that sets us apart from HighLevel and other HighLevel users. Now we also have one other theme as well, which is upgrade to V2. If you do that, then you can get access to this version. What we'll do is try this version out now with this color. We'll click generate V2 code, and I'll show you what this looks like as well. When we just go and replace it and click save changes, you'll see this is our second version, and all we have to do is select dark theme because we selected a dark background. So there it is with the dark mode. This is a different version that has a little bit of a border. Really cool. One of my favorite branding kits that I have created so far. And if you want to get access to that, again, for free down in the description. Now for the sake of this video, we're going to go ahead and remove this just so you see exactly what your HighLevel looks like in this case. Now, as you just saw, I switched from light theme to dark theme. So HighLevel does have two different native themes. So regardless of whatever custom CSS you use, if you use one with like a dark background, make sure you select dark theme here. And if you use one with a light background, select light theme as well. So I prefer to use the light theme because nearly everyone and their mother uses the dark theme, and it's very noticeable and very much looks like HighLevel. So I prefer using the light theme. Now that we've configured everything on our company page, let's go over the other pages we have access to. First, we have team. This is where we can add and edit new users for our software. So if we have team members, partners, anyone that we want to add onto the platform, all we have to do is add in their name, first and last, and then their email, and this will automatically send them an email to get them logged in to the platform. We can also set things like roles and permissions for what sub accounts they have access to and what features they have access to on our sub accounts as well. If we want to configure our system emails, which are emails like that login email that I just told you about, we can go to system emails, and then we will be able to see our welcome email, reset password, and verification email template. And we can change and edit any of these templates right here on the screen. This is something a lot of people skip over, but it's super important to have a really cohesive agency experience whenever you're selling your SaaS or even just working with team members. In order to change these, all you have to do is click change template. And if you want to create a custom one, you can click see how, and this will take you to the exact step-by-step process for creating custom templates. Now, this essentially just means you're going to go to a sub account, create an email template under our email template section, and then we will select that email template from a sub account, and then you'll be able to select it here. This is an example for my white labeled SaaS, what it looks like. It looks very different from HighLevel's version, and it gives our customers a really unique, cohesive experience with the emails. Next, we can also configure our email services. Now that we've talked about those custom emails, if you want to set up a custom email provider to send your emails out, you can set up one just like this using your dedicated domain. Now, under email services, in order to connect our email system and make sure it works, just click dedicated domain and IP, and then you're going to go through a process of adding your own domain. Now, what is your email dedicated domain? This is something we'll talk about more on the sub account level, but it's equally as important on the agency level. This is the domain that your emails are sending from. And you can do this on the sub account level with marketing emails, but on the agency level, it's where your system emails, those ones we just customized, it's where they are coming from. So we can do something like system management.yourdomain.com, anything like that. You can even do something shorter like mail or mailbox or no reply, anything like that. We're just adding a subdomain. So it's something.yourdomain.com. This is how you're going to actually send out emails from your platform. You can see a few pieces of helpful information on the right-hand side telling you how to use these subdomains with Lead Connector or LC email. That is HighLevel's native email system, which works great for stuff like this. And when you go through this process, all you have to do is add a bunch of domain records to your domain itself under your DNS settings. So after you do this, you'll see under our manual records, you have all of these different records. There's going to be 6 of them, 5 on this screen, and then 1 more on the next screen. All you have to do is just add the record, host, required value, save, and do that for all of them. It's a little bit of a tedious process, but once you do it a few times, you'll understand why it's super important, and you have to do this in order to send emails from your system inside of HighLevel. So make sure you configure this. Now, a quick break from the techie stuff. I don't want to overwhelm you, and I understand that adding all these DNS records and setting this up and setting that up can be confusing and can be a little bit daunting. I get it. Now, the reason we're setting all of this up is to have a healthy and sustainable infrastructure. Think about building your business like you're creating a skyscraper. If you want to create a skyscraper, you want to make it look all pretty, you want to design it, give it the best windows, best carpets, all the things. But if you don't start with the foundation, none of that's ever going to come. Stuff like dedicated domains for email settings and your white label and your white label domain and API domain and things like this, are that foundation that we're setting up. And when you set these up right in the beginning and you make sure that this is correct first, even if it just takes a few minutes to set this stuff up, you're going to be set up for life when it comes to building a business on HighLevel. So don't get discouraged. Remember, you have access to people like me and tons of other creators in the space and the HighLevel support team in order to make sure that you can get set up on the platform. And stuff like this is really simple once you dive into it. So make sure you're building a strong foundation. Don't get overwhelmed. And once you have your foundation, then you can build awesome stuff like websites, automations, email marketing templates, and make tons of money using HighLevel. All right, now we're getting back to it. We've got our email system set up. Now let's go over some of the other really important pieces of settings on the agency level. For now, don't worry about announcements, workflow premium features, or AI employee. These are all places where we can just configure sets of information for our accounts. For one, announcements is just where you can toggle on and off different announcements to go out to your customers whenever certain things happen. So for example, if your social planner integration for YouTube has been expired, then we have a status to always send out an email whenever this happens to your customers. These are just system emails that are going to go out to your customers. You want to make sure you can turn these on or off depending on what you want to communicate with your customer. Generally, we just leave all of these on. For workflow premium features, this is simply where you can toggle on or off access to premium workflow features. I would typically always leave these on as long as your customers need access to them. They're super helpful inside of workflows. AI employee, this is where, again, you can turn on or off AI employee and turn on or off rebilling as long as it's on a SaaS account for any AI features inside of HighLevel. Ask AI configuration. This is a new feature that allows you to map AI agents to perform different actions inside of HighLevel. It's something that's more advanced and we'll go over in an AI agent and agent studio video, so don't worry about it for now. Same goes for workflow external AI models. Domain purchase is a feature which you can turn on or off on different sub-accounts to allow them to purchase domains on the platform. So let's say you're selling websites on your platform. You may want to let your customers purchase domains directly through HighLevel, and you can even toggle on rebilling as long as you have SaaS on. This is a really cool feature that you can use for your sub-accounts. Like I said earlier, you can purchase domains inside of sub-accounts. That's what this is talking about. Private integrations isn't something you're going to have to worry about unless we're messing with the API, and we'll talk about that later. Affiliates is just where you can get your affiliate ID and affiliate links. These are my affiliate links, as you can see them here. Custom menu links allows you to add custom left-hand navigation links for your customers. You see we've got some onboarding links and a link to SaaS Suite for our agency and our accounts. I'll talk a little bit more about that later as I talk about sub-account onboarding with SaaS Suite. Stripe, you won't ever have to go here. It's just letting you know that your Stripe is connected. API keys, don't worry about. Compliance, GDPR and HIPAA compliance packages if you need them. Unless you're doing anything in the medical space, don't even worry about this. Next, labs. This one actually will be useful as HighLevel pushes out new features like Prospect AI 2.0 or a new white labeled mobile app customizer, all these different things. We're allowed to toggle on or off different features before they're actually live. For example, this feature is going live on February 15th, 2026. And if we want to set it live now, we can simply toggle it on just like that. We can do all sorts of stuff like that inside of labs for agency features as well as sub-account features. Be sure before you push something to live to read a little bit about it. And of course, if you just want access to all of the latest features, then just come in here periodically and activate all of these features. Lastly, under audit logs, we can see different actions taking place inside of our agency. I'm not actually going to show you any of these, but this just lets you see all of your users and what they're doing inside of their sub-account. So if anything ever happens, if something gets deleted, if you can't see something, if an agency user does something and you suspect of anything that you need to look into, this is where you will go to. And lastly, media storage usage just lets you see which sub-accounts are using the media storage and how much are they using. All right, that's everything that you can do on the agency level. Now let's go into what you can do on the sub-account level and how you can create your first sub-account and use snapshots. First, on the agency level, under account snapshots, we have 4 different screens: my snapshots, imported snapshots, shared snapshots, and snapshot templates. For you, if you're just getting started, nothing will show under any of the first 3 screens and you'll just have snapshot templates. If you ever want to create your own snapshots in the future, they'll show up under my snapshots. If you import someone else's snapshots, they come up under imported. And if you share your snapshot with someone else, it will share under shared. Now, what on earth are snapshots? Snapshots are an awesome way to copy account assets like sites, funnels, custom values, custom fields, automations, and so much more, and port them into other accounts automatically through a snapshot. Think about it like customized settings and pieces of information and assets like websites, funnels, pipelines, and so much more that can just be copied between sub-accounts. It won't include information that's customer specific, like customer lists or customer names and things like that, just assets that are actually being used inside the sub-account. And to get started, you actually have all the snapshots you need in order to start using HighLevel, because HighLevel gives us tons tons of different snapshots for different industries. You can see here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 automotive snapshots. One for brake and muffler shops, one for towing services, auto body, tire, automotive repair, and dealerships and detailing. So you can see HighLevel gets really niche with these different snapshots, and all of these have tailored account assets for this industry. If we go ahead and look at the setup guide for the automotive snapshot here, we can see a quick video from Haplin.
Hey there, and welcome to the setup guide for the towing service snap,
where he walks you through a little bit of information about the snapshot, and you can see the different pieces included in it. As you can see here, we've got a website template, a sales funnel template, an offer form, email campaigns, custom automations, pipelines, and digital ad templates. So there's so much great information here that we get from snapshots, and this entire process will walk you through how to utilize and configure the whole snapshot. Now, a lot of these are going to be really similar between different snapshots, like you obviously have to create phone numbers and submit A2P and things like that, but these are great for getting started if you are in a specific industry. So feel free to search for marketing agency or whatever you're actually doing and find a snapshot that you feel like is going to best fit what you're doing with your business. You can then click Create Sub-Account, or we can do this from the sub-account screen. Now, when we click Create Sub-Account from the sub-account screen, we'll then be prompted to either create an account with no snapshot, which is a blank snapshot, or with one of the ones that I just showed you. If you're on the SaaS plan, you can create a SaaS account or a regular account. This will just determine if you have rebilling on or not. For our cases, we're just going to click regular, and we're going to work with a basic affiliate marketing agency snapshot. We'll click select and continue, and this will now take us through the process of creating our snapshot. Now, this first screen here shows us a map, which is because HighLevel is really designed for local businesses. And sometimes you can put in their address and find the business, and it'll automatically pour in the information. But typically, we're just going to add a sub-account manually. You'll then go through the process of putting in the client or your own name, email, business name, business niche, address, time zone, and then lastly, you can add sample data to this account. This just lets you see things like sample customers and contacts for demo purposes. And then you can also determine if this is your client's account or if this is your own account. Once you do that, you can click Add Sub-Account and your first sub-account will be created. Now, once your first sub-account is created, you'll find it from the sub-account screen by searching just like this, or you can click here to switch, and then you'll see your sub-account here in this list, which you can select from in order to switch to it. Now let's go ahead and hop into our sub-account. First things first, let's talk about general navigation and how you can actually navigate through your sub-account. First, this will operate very similarly to the agency view, as we have things to modify on the left-hand side, settings in the bottom left-hand corner. And of course, if we want to switch back to our agency, we can just click the top left switcher and click switch to agency view. Now, if we go back, we can check out the first piece of information, which we're going to be shown in our sub-account, which is our launch pad. And this is a super exciting piece of our sub-account, which is going to help you get set up with all of the most important parts of your HighLevel agency. This launch pad is a series of videos with a very recognizable voice, which you can watch, and you will see exactly how to create contacts, import contacts, create funnels, connect your email, SMS, set up email campaigns, and do so much more. You can connect your calendars. It'll teach you how to build pipelines and do basically everything you need to do with HighLevel to start and scale your business. Now, outside of this video, which is really in depth, these are some of the best ways to get your hands over the entire sub-account and learn the basics about navigating and utilizing all the different parts of the platform. So make sure you've gone through each one of these videos, click on the item, click play, and watch through and learn how to use the different parts of your sub-account. Next, we're going to skip straight over our dashboard and go to our CRM functionality. If you haven't heard of the term CRM before, this stands for Customer Relationship Management. And this is how we are engaging with contacts and staying in touch with them using software. This is why our contact screen is the first place in order to start utilizing our CRM. And this is where I would highly recommend everyone to start with their software. So here we are on our contact screen with some demo contacts. Now, to create your first contact, you can just click Add Contact in the top right, enter a name, email, phone number, and then they'll be created right here. And you can view all of your contacts in this sort of table. Now, you can manage which fields you're actually seeing in this table on the right-hand side under Manage Fields. You can toggle on things like tags or business names, or maybe you just want to see name and email. You can click Apply, and then that's all you're going to see. So if this is a view that really works well for you, then click Save and click Save as New Smart List. Now, smart lists are the way for us to organize our contact lists. We first have our all page, which is where we can see all of our raw contact data. And smart lists are how we can organize that data into seeing only what we want to see. For example, our all page right here has our name and phone number and created date and tags and all sorts of things we don't need to see. But if we want to just see, like I showed you, that name and email, that's how we do it. Now that you know how to navigate your smart lists, let's talk about interacting with our contacts on this page. This is kind of the heart of our CRM, as I said, and in order to interact with these contacts, for example, John Doe right here, all we have to do is click the contact's name. When we do that, it will open up the contact card, and this is where we can modify the contact's information, like their name, email, phone number, and all sorts of other fields over here on the left-hand side. It's also where we can send messages back and forth with the contact here via different forms of communication. And we can select one of those modes of communication by using this switcher here at the bottom of the screen. You can see we can switch between SMS, WhatsApp, email, and internal commenting. This is just where we can have internal conversations that are only visible to our team within the conversation thread. And of course, you can use all the other platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, things like that. Whenever they are connected, they will just show up here in this part of the screen. Now, if we're sending an email, all we have to do is enter our from email here. This is again going to be that dedicated domain that we talked about earlier that we're going to set up on the sub account level. This isn't the domain we set up on the agency level, but it's one that we're going to set up on the sub account. And of course, if you just have your personal email connected, then you can use your Gmail or Outlook or iCloud, which you've connected. Again, those videos on the Launchpad walk you through how you can connect different email services in order to start utilizing your email accounts. If we go back over to the Launchpad, you'll see this under the foundational setup category, and then under setup multi-channel communication and start engaging in minutes. You'll see in this video how we can go to email services, make our custom dedicated domain using those email fields that we already talked about earlier, and then of course connect phone numbers and email accounts inside of our sub account, and then manage everything from this screen. So again, this guide is going to be really useful for you, but that's how we have conversations with our contacts from the contact screen is within our contact card. Now that you understand how the conversation section of this work, let's go over the left-hand side. So to modify any of these fields, we can simply click the field, add in our information, and then click save. We can also do the same thing for any other fields, and if we add custom fields to our account, those will all show up here as well. As you can see here, we've got some custom fields for this contact. Now we can also see our contacts tags here. Tags inside of a CRM are exactly what you'd think they are. They're just tags that we can apply to a contact, letting us know about important details, like if it's an important contact or an urgent contact, and we can set up different tags like this in settings and apply them to different contacts in order to better organize our contacts. Now underneath tags, we can see next to our all fields, we have our D&D section. Now D&D is do not disturb for a contact. This is when we can configure if we are going to turn on D&D for different channels. So for example, if someone unsubscribes to an email, that's when we would check email, and luckily HighLevel automatically does this whenever someone automatically unsubscribes from your emails or replies stop. Same sort of thing for text messages. If they reply stop or unsubscribe, or this is a contact that doesn't want to hear from you, then you can turn on D&D in this section. Then under actions, we can move this contact and interact with them from this screen. So there's 3 different places right now that we can configure different actions for our contact. First is our opportunities. So if we want to link it to a new opportunity, we'll talk about that later. You can do that from here. You can also add the contact to workflows from here. And of course, you can grant them access to different offers and communities and courses if you're using that infrastructure within HighLevel as well. We'll go over more about that in a bit. Now that's everything you can do here on the left side, as well as of course, view the audit logs for this specific contact. And on the right-hand side, we have the ability to do a lot more useful tasks all through this right-hand side navigation, starting with activity. We can see all the different activity this contact has taken, such as landing on websites, submitting forms, submitting payments. We can see all of those with timestamps, which is really helpful in our CRM. We can also see associations. This is going to work with custom objects and how it's associated to opportunities. And you'll learn a little bit more about that later in the video. We also have tasks. If we want to add a task for this contact, like follow up with them, we can enter a task title, and then we can include a description, and then we can include a task due date, etc., and then click create. As you can see on this screen, we can have our task right here, but we can also manage tasks from the top of the toolbar, and we'll go over that in a bit. We can also add notes to the contact, which is really useful in your CRM because keeping notes on your contacts about how calls went and what they're interested in and different things about their business can be really useful when you're managing a lot of different contacts with multiple team members. So this is kind of like your second brain when it comes to everything that's happening with a contact. You should really make sure that you're diligent about keeping notes. Then we can manage appointments under here. This is where we can add appointments, edit appointments, cancel appointments, reschedule them, custom everything for our contacts, we'd recommend doing from this screen. Then we can also manage our documents. So if we want to send a document to the contact, keep a document internally like a brand kit or something that's useful for that client, we can include that here. And then of course we have payments where we can see all transactions, subscriptions, invoices, and estimates along with this contact. Now that's everything inside of the contact card. We can go ahead and go back, and we can go back to our smart lists page. The only other things you can do on this page are things like adding filters. These can be really useful for creating new smart lists. So I would highly recommend you learn how to utilize the filters. For example, we have one filter for email, clicked, and open dates. These are super useful if you want to make email segmented lists. We have a video on the channel going over email segmentation, so be sure to check that out. But these different filters can be really useful if you want to make a list of, let's say, people that include the important tag. So you have important contacts. You can do that, click apply, and then click under save changes, save as new smart list, and call it important contacts. This helps you just keep everything organized inside of your CRM. So I'd highly recommend create a couple of smart lists to keep everything organized inside of the contacts page. Now, outside of the contacts page, we have a couple of different pages, which we're really not going to mess with a lot. Bulk actions is really just a page for us to see bulk actions that are happening, like uploading files or exporting contact lists. That's it. You're not going to go to this page much. Restore is where we can restore contacts in case we ever deleted them. So don't worry, if you ever delete a contact, you can get them back from the restore page. Tasks is where we can manage our tasks. This is probably the page you'll use the most, and it looks very similar to the contact screen. And it just gives you a table of all different tasks in your agency. And it lets you mark different tasks as completed in order to keep things organized. So this is probably the tab that you're going to use the most outside of Smart List. Additionally, we have companies if we want to keep track of different companies. Most people don't use this all that often. And then we can manage all of our smart lists from here. But again, you're probably not going to use this as much since you can do all this from the smart lists page. We also have our contact settings right here, which will take us to our custom fields, which we'll go over later in the settings portion of the video. So now you know how to import and utilize all of your contacts inside of the CRM. What about actually having conversations with all of your contacts at the same time? So that's when we get to conversations, which is really just an inbox. This is where you can see all of your unread, all messages, recent messages, and starred messages from your CRM. And this is where you can have conversations with your contacts and again, see a very similar view to that contacts view. Remember when we saw this over in the middle, this is essentially what the conversations page is entirely, and it just shows you a full list of all of the contacts that you are engaging with. Once more, as you're having conversations with your customers, you can still get access to all of those things we talked about earlier, like the contact details, activity, associations, tasks, notes, calendars, appointments, documents, and payments. So this is very similar to the contact screen. It's just where you can see all of your conversations in one place. Now, one of the big benefits of HighLevel is you can include all of your conversation channels all in one place. If we look at our filters here and we look at our message channels, we have email, SMS, Google Business Profile chat, live chat widgets, WhatsApp, Facebook, calls, voicemail, Instagram, review chats, and TikTok DMs all in one place. This is one of the biggest value adds of GoHighLevel and why a lot of people love using it, because you can have all of your conversations for 10 plus platforms all in one place instead of having to switch between different platforms. Additionally, under conversations, we have manual actions. This is actually a really cool and underutilized feature of HighLevel, in my opinion, that I think more people can use. So manual actions is when you can add contacts to a list with a designated action that you need to do with all of those contacts. Let's say you have 10 unread messages and you want to reply to all of them in a similar fashion. So what we can do is we can add those contacts to the list within a workflow. Don't really worry about that right now, but imagine we can take all those 10 contacts, click start, and then this will let us run through contact after contact, type our message, click send, and it immediately moves to the next contact. That's what manual actions are. They're super helpful for doing follow-up and cold outbound whenever you're using HighLevel. So I'd highly recommend you use manual actions. I'll tell you a little bit more later about how you can create those lists within automations. Next, we have snippets. This is a very useful part of conversations. Snippets are just message templates. Think about it like that. You can create snippets for texts and emails, and you can do either of them by clicking new snippet in the top right and by clicking add text or add email snippet. Then you can give the snippet a name and a message itself. As you can see here, here is our message. We can also add attachments and files through URLs and test this snippet. And all that this means is once we save this snippet right here, we can then utilize it inside of our conversations. Similarly, we can do the same thing with emails. We can do test snippet. We can add a subject line. We can add a body, and we can add all sorts of information inside of this snippet. Then we can utilize those inside of our conversations in order to send messages to our contacts. And we can send these snippets from the conversation screen. So for an example, if we go ahead and click message contacts from our conversation screen, then select one of our example contacts, select email, and click create conversation. We can then, in this bottom part where we typically write our email, instead of writing an email, we can select a snippet from right here, select the snippet and attach it to the email and then send it rather than having to rewrite it over and over. So that's all they are, just templates. Additionally, under conversations, we have access to trigger links. Trigger links are a really powerful part of the platform, which allow us to track clicks. So if we send a trigger link to someone, then whenever they click it, it can trigger off workflows, send them messages, trigger things on the back end, and do all sorts of stuff. So it's exactly what you'd expect. It's just a trigger link. In order to create these links and where their destination URLs are, all we have to do is click add link, add in the name and the link URL that you want to send them to, like a review page or a payment page or anything like that. And then it will give you a trigger link key, which you can use this, copy it, send it in SMS or email. And then whenever the contact clicks that, it will launch trigger link workflows, which is really cool. We can also analyze all of our trigger link activity under the analyze page, and we'll be able to see all of the different actions, the clicks and everything from our trigger links. Lastly, we have conversation settings, which again, that's just going to go to settings and we'll talk about that later. Now that you understand how contacts and conversations work, let's talk about opportunities, the next part of the CRM. Opportunities and pipelines are where you can move contacts through different stages and keep track of them as they go through the sales process. For example, we have a marketing pipeline here where we have a stage for new lead, then one for contacted, qualified, proposal sent, negotiation, and closed. All of these different stages can utilize a contact from our contacts list via an opportunity. So by clicking add opportunity, we can select a contact from our list, select a stage for them to go in, attach a value to them, and then click create. By doing this, it will add our opportunity to our pipeline, which then we can use and move throughout different stages in order to keep track of our opportunities as they go through our sales process. So this is really helpful. We can create new pipelines under the pipelines screen. Again, we have a full video going over this on the Launchpad, so make sure to check that out. And of course, if we want to create a pipeline, we can just click create pipeline, throw in our different stages that are important to our business model, and then it will be added to our opportunity screen. That's the bulk of how the CRM functionality works. And this is what's going to be really useful for most people. Now let's dive into some of the other functionality like calendars. Calendars are super useful, again, because you can have all of your calendars in one place, just like the conversations tab. So if you want to have a sales calendar, have multiple Google accounts or Outlook accounts or iCloud accounts connected, you can have everything sorted and filtered here inside of your calendar in HighLevel. You can connect your calendars by going to calendar settings, which will take you to settings calendars, and then you can connect calendars under the connection screen. You can connect calendars for different users on your sub account, and then whenever you click add new, you can add new connected calendars depending on which platform you use, like Google, Outlook, iCloud, and Calendly. This is all super useful because you can manage all of your appointments in one place. And of course, you can also connect video conferencing. So if you want to utilize Google Meet, Zoom, or Microsoft Teams for having video meetings, you can do so via calendars. And whenever someone books an appointment, it will automatically generate a meeting link URL, depending on the platform that you're. Now, I'm hoping you're starting to see how this can be really useful, because when you have appointments booked on your calendar through GoHighLevel, then those contacts be brought into the contact screen, and then those conversations with the contacts can go to the conversation screen where you can have emails and texts with them once they've booked your appointment. And then of course, if you need to modify any details of the conversation or the appointment, you can manage the appointment on the right-hand side along with documents, payments, notes. I'm sure you get my drift. This is why HighLevel is so powerful and so useful to so many different businesses, because having everything in one place where everything is connected and you don't have any issues is really valuable to a business that's running online or even in person, especially when you're running an appointment-based business. Managing your appointments and your contacts and conversations in one place is really useful. Of course, there's more to learn about calendars, and feel free to learn more about it under the Launchpad under the video titled Book More Appointments with Automated Scheduling. I will walk you through all of the different parts of setting up your calendar and learning how to utilize all the different booking types inside of GoHighLevel. One of the most important parts of the video is you'll see that you get access to actually create your own calendar widget. This is what a GoHighLevel calendar widget looks like. It gives customers the ability to select a time and a date and put in their information and then book straight to your calendar. And of course, this does sync with your other calendars through the GoHighLevel calendars integration. Now that you understand how contacts, calendars, conversations, and opportunities work, let's go ahead and hop back up to dashboards. Dashboards are really cool because you can actually create custom dashboards to show you different sets of information for your business. Now, the default dashboard will show you things like your opportunity status, and this is pulling from the opportunities page with pipelines. You can see the amount of revenue you're running through your opportunities, as well as conversions, stage distributions, your funnels, tasks, manual actions, lead source reports, their values, and so much more. And via integrations, we can add even more cool things like Google Analytics reports and Facebook ads reports inside of one place. Now, if you want to customize your dashboard, all you have to do is click Edit Dashboard, and then you can add all sorts of widgets. Now, you can go into really a lot of depth with the dashboards on HighLevel. You can add contact-specific widgets like how many contacts you have, the sources of contacts, and more. So just make sure you kind of get an idea of what your main goal is with the dashboard, and then you can create the dashboard widgets from here and add them into this page. You can even connect with things like the social planner and payments and meta ads and calls and emails and visitor data, all sorts of stuff. So just keep in mind what your type of business is that you're running and what dashboard widgets you will need the most out of this page. Now, lastly, for our CRM activities, we have payments. Payments is the last part of the platform that is really deep and goes into a lot of different features. So I'm going to try and go through each one of them real quickly for you so you can understand exactly how they work and then tinker with them on your own. Now, you'll see at the top, we have our navigation between invoices and estimates, documents and contracts, orders, subscriptions, payment links, transactions, products, coupons, gift cards, settings, and integrations. And let me kind of explain, depending on your use case, which tabs of these you're going to use the most and which ones are most useful for you. Invoices and estimates and documents and contracts go hand in hand. These are both things that you're going to be using if you are an agency. If you're not selling, low ticket products, you're selling higher ticket products with proposals and things like that, invoices, estimates, and documents and contracts will be really useful for you. If you're running anything on e-commerce, things that are one-time payments and orders for physical products, orders is going to be that tab that you're going to use. If you're not, you'll never use it ever. If you are running subscription-based products like a SaaS, then the subscriptions tab will be useful for you. This is just where you can see all of your subscriptions. It's pretty straightforward. If you're running any business, payment links is always super useful because you can create custom payment links with custom products and branding and all sorts of things via the platform here. Transactions, you won't go to all that much. This just gives you an entire list of all customer payments. And then products, you will use a lot no matter what business you are on, and you won't really use collections, inventory, or reviews unless you're likely running an e-commerce physical product-based business. But everyone will use the product screen. Next, we have coupons and gift cards. These kind of go hand in hand. If you are a business that could run coupons or run gift cards, we just made a video over gift cards, and coupons are pretty straightforward. So if you want to do that, you can manage those things from those screens. Settings, this will mostly be for people using invoices because you'll want to set up receipts, taxes, notifications, shipping, things like that. So you can set up those sorts of settings here. But if you're running a digital business, you won't really need this as much. But if you're running something physical or like an agency, then settings will be useful for you. And of course, integrations. This is where we're going to start. So with payment integrations, you need to select a payment provider that you're going to utilize to actually collect payments. HighLevel is not a payment provider, so they don't collect payments on behalf of you or your customers. So you need to actually connect with a platform like Stripe, PayPal, Authorize.net, and a few others. There's a lot of different platforms that HighLevel works with. Stripe is the most popular. If you don't have Stripe available in your country, there's likely an app in order to help you utilize different payment providers that's more useful for you in your country. If you go down to search for more, you'll be able to see all of the integrations, and there's a ton. Easy Pay Direct is really popular for people in other countries. You have a couple of different ones like WhatsApp, Replit integration, Summit, Paddle. There's a lot of different payment providers, but the most popular ones are Square, Authorize.net, PayPal, and Stripe. I'd highly recommend using Stripe if it allows for your type of business, especially if you're running a digital business. Stripe is fantastic. You can also utilize Stripe just to collect ACH transactions, which is one of the best ways to do it, even if you're an agency and selling something high ticket, as long as you tell your customers to do things via ACH. Now, once you have selected a payment provider, you can click connect, and then you'll go through the connection integration, which is pretty similar for all the different platforms. You'll just select account and do all the different things in order to connect to the platform. And once you have selected one, you'll then be enabled to utilize all the different parts of HighLevel payments. And the first place to start is products. Product is where you can create products and attach prices to them in order to sell them. So if you're going to sell anything, even if you're just going to make a one-off payment link, you need to make a product first. So in order to create a product, you can click create product. You can also, of course, import from Stripe or a CSV if you already have a list of products. Then you can apply a name, description, product collections, tax codes, all sorts of stuff on this page, including things like images if you want. And then the most important part is setting the price. You can either select one-time or recurring products. One-time products, you can just add in the price and that's pretty much it. Recurring products, you can set up trial periods, billing periods, and number of payments and setup fees. Now, one-time payments are pretty straightforward, but let me explain the different parts of recurring payments. For compare at price, this is the same with one-time payments. It's just a higher price. You're going to say basically your customers are getting a discounted price of. So if your product is usually $200 and you're selling it for $97, that's what that is. Then our billing period is how often we are charging for this recurring product. So if it is a $97 a day product, then you would select daily. If it's $97 a week, you do weekly. And for most cases, it's just going to be monthly or yearly. And you can, of course, do custom billing periods, like every 3 months, every quarter, things like that. Once you set up your recurring period, you can also add a trial. This just means once the person puts in their credit card information, it won't charge their card for X amount of days unless they canceled their subscription via the recurring product. And then you can set up a setup fee. So if this is a $97 a month, but $997 upfront payment, then all you have to do is do one payment of $997 for the setup fee and then $97 a month. That's how that would set up inside of a recurring product. We can also add things like variants and search engine listings. This is more useful if you're doing e-commerce. Other than that, you can just click save. Now under our product, we can also toggle to include it in an online store. If we're not doing e-commerce and we're not selling things online through an e-commerce store in HighLevel, then you won't need this. But if you are, then you will need that. Now, once you have a product, you can then utilize this product in all the different parts of your HighLevel sub account. So for an example, if we want to create a payment link, we can go to payment links, click create new payment link. And the first thing we'll do is select that product that we just created. We can see it's got that setup fee, that $97 a month. We can adjust all our options on the left-hand side, and then we can get a designated custom link on our domain in order to send to our customers. This is great because it's really professional. It's not like you're sending them a Stripe link or a PayPal link or telling them to send you money on Venmo, right? This is a very professional front in order to give to your customers via payment links. We can then, of course, also utilize that within invoices as well. Now, again, there's full videos on the Launchpad going over documents and contracts and invoices. Invoices is the bigger one. You'll see it under e-commerce, generate and sell professional invoices. You'll see in this video, I'll walk you through how to actually create invoices and get started with the platform. But of course, if you're sending invoices to your customers, that's where invoicing is going to be useful. You can also send estimates, which is just saying this is what the product will likely cost. And if they accept that estimate, then they can be sent an invoice. And if you want to do something similar, like giving them a document to sign or put their name in or sign and put their initials in, then that's when we use documents and contracts. Documents and contracts are also pretty simple to use. All you have to do is create templates. So you can go through the content library or create a new template from scratch, or you can upload PDFs. And then by uploading these, you can attach signing fields, initial fields, name fields, all sorts of stuff so people can sign contracts. If you're running any sort of online agency or you need people to sign documents, even internally for like employees, this is a great infrastructure to utilize. And again, there's videos on it going over in Launchpad. All right, so that wraps up the CRM side of things that we're doing with contacts, interacting with them, payments, contacts, conversations, opportunities. By now, you should have a pretty good idea about how you can import your contacts, interact with them, collect payments, collect signatures, things like that within HighLevel. Now let's dive into the really fun stuff, things like sites, marketing, funnel, email automations, and so much more. And one of the best parts about this is we're going to start with AI, and we can start with the AI Agents tab. This is where you can create and manage your AI agents. Now, if you're new to the AI space, I would say that there's 3 different types of AI agents we can create. There's voice AI, which are agents which can talk on the phone with customers. This can be either inbound or outbound voice AI, ones that make calls or receive calls, and then get the customer to perform XYZ actions and collect information from them and get them where they need to go. The second is conversation AI, which is text-based AI. Think about talking back and forth with ChatGPT, but in a business use case where we can add live chat widgets where an AI can chat with our customers on our website, or an AI can handle our DMs for us or our texting, things like that. And then we have AI automation. And there's 2 different places we can do this within HighLevel. One is Agent Studio and one is in automations themselves. I'll walk you through both, but for now, we're going to get started with voice AI, conversation AI, and Agent Studio. The first part of AI agents that you're going to use the most often will be voice and conversation AI. And building these agents is very similar. Once you get to the AI agent screen, you'll see a getting started page, which we can see our voice AI and conversation AI here. The steps go as follow. First, we'll create an agent with configuring its name, greeting, and basic conversation pieces. Same for voice AI and conversation AI. We can then train and talk to both of these bots and configure all of their different actions. Now, in order to actually get started with these, you can go through these steps to click create your first voice AI agent. And this will simply take you to the voice AI agent screen where you can start creating. We would start with a custom agent like this, click continue, and then you'll go through the prompt-based flow in order to create your agent. All you're gonna do is just include information like the name of your agent, the business name, and then going through other settings to configure your agent. Now we're starting with voice AI here, so obviously one of the big pieces of configuring is our voice itself. And we have an entire voice library here in our agent. Now I would recommend you spend a lot of time testing different voices because the voice of your agent is a really big part of if your agent's going to actually be useful. And what I would recommend doing is turning on first high quality only, which will filter out any of the low quality voices and only give you access to the high quality one. And then you can of course filter by language, accents, and then genders as well. So you can filter down to, 20 to 30 different voices which you can test on this screen. You can test them by simply clicking the play button.
Chris McGuire here from Chicago.
In which it will walk you through what that agent actually sounds like and let you test out how it works. You can then like agents, dislike agents, and see which ones you like to use the most. You can see which ones have likes, also are from the community. So which ones the community likes the most as well. Now, once you select an agent, which you can do by just clicking the agent voice like this, you can then click save voice and it will save this to your voice here. You can then select time zone and then an LLM model in order to run the agent on. There's a lot of different LLM models to run your agents on. And to get started, GPT-4o is pretty simple to get started with because it's one of the cheaper models. And if you go down to something like 4o mini, it can be even cheaper. So if you're doing an agent that's going to get a lot of calls, keep this in mind because the prices here are really, really impactful. So let's take a look at some of these here. You can see the difference between the most updated agent, GPT-5, is 0.01 per minute, which is 1 cent per minute, which is actually pretty expensive when it comes to voice AI agents. And then if you go down to ones like GPT-4o, it's 20 cents per minute, or GPT-4o mini is 0.001, so a tenth of the cost of GPT-5. So keep that in mind whenever you're testing your agents. You can also use ones from Claude and Gemini as well to see which one fits your budget and which one works best for your use case. Again, you are going to want to test this a lot. On one hand, you could just get told which agent's the best, but it's better for you to test out the different models and really configure what's going to work for you. That's why HighLevel is a platform for people to build on because they love being able to configure stuff like this. So once you select your agent, you can then put in your initial message. You can say, hey, you've reached my business. How can I help you today? And then the agent will go about its way. Now, on our next step, we can set up our agent goals for a voice AI. We can either do this in basic or advanced mode. And all we're going to do is first select a knowledge base. So knowledge bases are how we're storing data for the agent itself in all of our AI agents. Think about like it being trained on your website or different pieces of documentation and things like that. We'll then select what details to select from the contact, like name, email, address, etc. The contact's issue is also one that you could do. You can also trigger workflows whenever agents are done with their calls. So you can do lots of stuff like that. And then of course, by default, your agents will send an email to someone after post-call completion, and you can dictate who that email is sent to or if you want to use it at all using that toggle. Then on the next step, we can select our phone number. Obviously, voice AI agents need a phone number in order to function, and we'll talk about how you can get phone numbers later in the video. So make sure you can select the phone number that you want to use right here, and then you can test your agent on this screen. I have lots of videos going over voice AI on the YouTube channel, so feel free to check those out, and we'll go more in depth onto those. Now, once we've created our agent, we can click save and you will see your agent under the agent list here. Here is James, the agent that we just created. And then once we want to make more edits to him, we can just click 3 dots and click edit and go back and configure more stuff now that we're out of the initial creation flow. We can also see dashboards, availability, all sorts of stuff in this screen. Now, creating conversation AI agents is very similar. If we click create bot, we'll go through a few different builders in order to go through the process of creating our conversation AI agent. The most new one is flow-based builder, which you'll see is nearly identical to the voice AI agent. Again, you're going to configure the name, the different channels, the advanced settings, training, bot goals, etc. I have a full playlist on my YouTube channel about conversation AI, so you can learn more about how you can dive into that. But the general gist is you can set up an agent on autopilot or off. When it's on autopilot, it will automatically respond whenever it gets a message on any of these platforms like SMS, Instagram, Facebook, chat widget, etc. We can toggle off different platforms or add them here on this screen. We can also configure our bot training on the bot training screen, which is where we can include information like their knowledge bases and different things like that. And then on the bot goals page, we can configure more information in terms of its prompting. Now, this will always kind of be changing from HighLevel because they really want to make sure this is the best experience for you. But essentially, depending on the way that you've created your conversation AI agent, once it's actually created, you can include information in its training, brand voice, bot goals, and then additional instructions. These are all just pieces of its prompts, which you can dive through. This UI may look different depending on when you're watching this video, but essentially all we can do on this page is just configure all of our prompting through advanced mode, especially between these different screens. Now, once you want to test your bot, you can send messages back and forth on this side of the screen, and then it will respond to you, and you can configure and modify the bot from here. This is a great way to learn how the bot works from this screen before you've actually deployed it to one of the parts of your sub account. Now that we've talked a little bit about conversation and voice AI, let's talk about knowledge bases, because this is necessary in order to use your agents inside of the platform. Knowledge bases, whenever you click create or edit an existing knowledge base like this, are just places to store information for your AI agents. So you can add a few different types of sources: web crawlers, FAQs, tables, rich text, and file uploads. Just made a video on this as well on the channel. Just look up AI tables and you'll find the different information about how you can upload information to your AI bot. You can essentially upload different files. You can include different texts. You can include links via the web crawler. And all of this is pretty straightforward by just using the add source button. And then you can include things like your URLs, your files, etc., in order for your AI bot to read from. Now, once you have your knowledge base set up and you're using it with conversation and voice AI, now we can talk a little bit about Agent Studio and AI automation inside of HighLevel. Now, Agent Studio is a new feature from HighLevel. It's a little bit experimental, but essentially allows us to build AI workflows inside of the platform. Now, we can also build AI workflows inside of the automations builder, which I'll show you a little bit later when we start going over automations. Now, Agent Studio, whenever you go to create your first agent, can be a little bit daunting whenever you create a new agent or create one from a template. This is a new feature which they are continually trying to improve, but essentially it works with this sort of setup. We have triggers and we have nodes, which we can use in order to launch our agent. We can also launch our agents via the API, which we'll talk about later as well. But if you want to make a simple agent, like one that whenever it's started, it searches the knowledge base, you can add your knowledge base triggers like this, select the knowledge base that you want it to pull from, and include instructions like look for our favorite color or something like that. Then once you include that information in the knowledge base as this action, you can connect different actions through different nodes using Agent Studio, and then you can return those actions once you actually save and publish this agent. We're not going to go too in depth onto Agent Studio in HighLevel, especially because it's a more advanced feature and it is always changing. It will probably continue changing for the next 2 to 3 years as the AI space develops. So feel free to poke around in this, look up a couple of videos on it. I've just made a few videos on this as well as on my Instagram about how the AI agents in Agent Studio work. But it's continually getting better and you can launch them off of forms, submissions, chat responses, and more. You can do things like generate audios, images, text, and videos through this platform by using all of these different prompts, selecting AI models, and doing so much more. So it's really cool, especially if you want to generate AI videos and text and do anything generative AI at scale with prompts. It's super, super cool for doing that. Now that we've talked a little bit about Agent Studio, let's go ahead and move on to the next part, which is going to be automations. Now, I'm going to skip over marketing for now because marketing is a tab that has a lot of different features that tie in with automations. So we'll go over that in a second. For now, let's go into automations. Now, there are tons of videos on my YouTube channel, including a playlist, which will be either here or in the description on how you can use automations inside of HighLevel. But here is the general gist. Automations are where you can perform 99% of what you need to do with your CRM. It's the most powerful part of HighLevel, and you can get started with automations by either clicking build with AI or create workflows and starting from scratch. Now, if you build using AI, you can send in a pretty complex prompt to HighLevel, like telling the AI that you want to have a lead nurture sequence, or whenever a contact form is submitted, you can create contact records, things like that. You can do so much with the AI workflow builder. Just give it some time, put in a prompt, see what it makes. Or if you want to get started on your own, you can just click create workflow and create one from scratch. Now, you should be familiar with the workflow builder regardless of if you use AI or not. So let me give you the basics. First, you can either work in the standard builder or the advanced builder. The advanced builder allows you to do a little bit more, and in my opinion, is actually a little bit simpler to use whenever it comes to building workflows, and it would be good for you to get used to using the advanced builder first. Now, all workflows consist of two things: triggers and actions. You want to get to know different triggers along with different actions pretty well. And you can get to know these by hopping into the advanced builder and clicking add at the top right, and then add trigger or add action. Whenever you click either of these, you'll then see a library of all of the triggers or actions that you have access to. Now, there are hundreds of triggers, so I'm not going to go over all of them in today's videos, but I will tell you some of the categories that we have. We have contact triggers, which are things like contact changed, contact created, contact updated. Event triggers, which are things like inbound webhooks, customer replies, and AI things. Appointments, these are really common. You'll use the appointment status or customer booked appointment trigger very often for making appointment follow-up flows. Opportunities, which you guessed it, deals with opportunities. So if you move a contact in the opportunity pipeline, you can launch workflows off of that. Affiliate, which is for the affiliate manager. There is an affiliate feature inside of HighLevel. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Courses, which is a part of the course infrastructure. Payments, which we already went over. So you can launch workflows off of invoices being completed, payments being received, subscriptions happening, refunds happening, things like that. E-commerce stores, like I said, if you want to build an e-commerce platform on HighLevel, these are your triggers that are going to deal with that. IVR is just phone calls. So if you get a phone call and you want to click a button to do something like press 1 to get transferred to sales, that sort of thing is what IVR is. Facebook and Instagram events, which are for commenting on Facebook and Instagram posts. Communities is for the communities infrastructure. Certificates is for certificates. Google Ads and communication are for a couple of other things, like Google Ads and TikTok comments, and whenever you generate transcripts of phone calls. So you can see you have all sorts of triggers. So I'd highly recommend starting with the AI builder because it can introduce you to some of the triggers that you'll need for your use case. Next, let's go over some of our actions. We have, again, actions that deal with the contact, like create contact, find contact. We have custom object actions, which you don't need to be worrying about right now. Communication are most common. Things like send email, send SMS, Slack messages, call, voicemail drops, things like these are going to be really useful for you in the future. We have send data, which is via webhooks and Google Sheets. So if you want to integrate with Google Sheets and send data to Google Sheets, you can do that. Internal, which is for basically things where you're waiting or using if statements. You're not going to use a lot of these other ones. You're usually mostly going to use wait and if else. If else is just branching. So if a contact is in Texas, then do this. If they are in Louisiana, do this, that sort of thing. Then we have external AI models, which is the GPT action. This is when I was talking about AI automation inside of automations and workflows. You can use this GPT action in order to call to HighLevel's connection with OpenAI in order to actually do AI things inside of here. So this is a great way to send like emails using ChatGPT or do other things with ChatGPT using that GPT action. Eliza, don't worry about. Appointments are appointment status things. So if you want to create an appointment or update an appointment, things like that. Opportunities, again, you guessed it, is with opportunities. If you want to create opportunities automatically, you can use these in automations. Payments, you can do things like send invoices and charge people on Stripe or send documents and contracts. Marketing is for Google and Facebook ads. Affiliate is the affiliate manager, and everything else are for those other actions that we have inside of the platform, like memberships, communities, certificates, things like that. IVR, again, is that phone call thing that we talked about earlier. AI actions allows us to have 4 different actions right now: AI translate, AI summarize, AI intent detection, and AI decision maker. You can learn more about all of these by just utilizing them in a workflow. And then we also have a voice AI outbound call action, which you can use in order to trigger an outbound call via HighLevel and using voice AI. In short, the way that this works, as we said, is we'll add a trigger. Let's say whenever a contact is created, we'll save this trigger. Now, whenever you create triggers or actions, you will have these things called filters right here, which is how you further configure the trigger. So maybe you only want it to go whenever the contact type is a lead, not a customer, right? So whenever you do that, you can save trigger, and now it will only run when a contact is created and is also a lead, not a customer. Then we can click this plus icon and it will immediately open up our actions toolbar, and we can select an action. Let's say, for example, we want to send an email. Very easy. All we have to do in here is configure our email like the subject line and the email itself. And then we can save this action, and boom, that's our first workflow created. We can set this to publish at the top right, which means the workflow will now run whenever this trigger happens, and then we can save and we'll be good to go. That's essentially how it works. And you can create really complex workflows. And we talk about all of that with the advanced builder on the channel. So feel free to check out the automations playlist and the advanced builder specific videos in the channel. Just go to the channel, click search, and you can find all of the different videos on that. Also, if you want to learn about any of these, you can always type in how to use HighLevel or Andrew George, and then type in what you're trying to do. So if it's how to use HighLevel automations, how to use HighLevel advanced workflow builder, you'll find my videos by doing that as well. That's essentially how automations work. And you can see this can get really powerful. So I'd recommend watching some of those videos, learning from the Launchpad videos that we have in the platform in order to learn how to use automations, but they're really cool and you can do so much stuff with them. But this is a really basic automation that can get you started. Now, when we go back to workflows, you'll be able to see a list of all of your workflows sorted by ones that are draft or published. In order to make things organized when you're first getting started, I'd highly recommend you start with folders. Make sure you click create folder, make workflows for customers, something like that. And then you can move and organize your workflows by selecting them, clicking move, and then moving them to different workflows to keep things organized. Highly would recommend that. It's going to save you a lot of time in the future. Now on this screen, you also have one other thing, which is our workflows overview. This is a pretty new feature, but it does let you see a lot of fun data for how many workflows you have, how many are published, total enrollments, trigger analysis, things like that. And it gives you a lot of good data when it comes to running workflows with lots of contacts. But other than that, you're not really going to need to worry about anything else besides just this workflow screen. Now you can also get started with workflows by clicking create workflow and clicking select from template, because there's a full template library of workflows already created for you by HighLevel. So if you're wanting to have, let's say, an appointment workflow, you can look up appointment and you're going to see we've got 4 different workflows that you can use. Appointment confirmation and reminder, a no-show nurture, appointment booking, and appointment confirmation plus reminders. So you have a lot of fun stuff you can do with the templates. So I'd highly recommend you either start with AI or with templates, or just start building and learn for yourself. I always like to say the best way to learn is by doing it and getting in the weeds and trying it out yourself. So get some hands-on experience with using automations. I promise you, it'll make you a lot of money and it will make your life a lot easier. Now that we understand workflows, now let's go back to marketing and let me explain why I wanted to leave marketing for after this. Now, there's a lot of things in marketing which you can do via workflows, but let's go ahead and go over all of the different features of the marketing tab. First, we have the social planner. This is awesome, and it's a great feature that allows us to schedule posts across lots of different platforms. There's a ton that goes into the social planner, so in order to get started, just select the social accounts you want to connect. Click the account and select your method of connecting. And then I would highly recommend going to the Launchpad and then going to marketing and lead generation, and you'll see manage all your social media posts in one place.
Welcome to the social.
In this video, I walk you through how to actually connect your platforms to the social planner, create posts, use templates, schedule in bulk, and do all sorts of things with the social planner and get used to it. So I'd highly recommend you check out those videos in the Launchpad. Now back to marketing, we also have emails. This is how you can create email campaigns inside of HighLevel. Now I want to make one clear distinction here. You can either create email campaigns inside of this email marketing manager, or you can create them inside of automations. You have 2 options. Remember that send email action I showed you inside of automations? You can use that with workflows like wait timers and even just using one at the very start with a customer trigger instead of using the marketing manager. Now, I like the email marketing manager and it's good for some things, like especially if you want to get high-level dashboards and if data is really important to you, like seeing deliverability rates and open rates and click-through rates, order rates, things like that. And especially if you have sales that people can make directly in your emails, this is really helpful. So if you're a big data person and you want to use this, you can use that. If you want to have a very simple email campaign, you can just create them inside of automations. Again, there's a full video in the Launchpad going over how to utilize the email campaign manager by going to the Launch Your First Campaign to Drive Engagement video. I can walk you through the entire process of using the email marketing manager in order to create and send emails inside of HighLevel. Now, moving on, we also have snippets. Now, if you remember, snippets were from earlier on the conversations page. We can actually create snippets from the marketing manager as well. This is the exact same thing. I don't know why it's in both places, but you can make them here on marketing as well. Countdown timers is just a widget that you can create for websites. So if you want to make a countdown timer like until your next drop or until Black Friday or until a holiday or something like that, you can use that here. Trigger links, again, already showed you inside of conversations. It's in both places. Now, there's the affiliate manager. We'll get to that in a second. Brand boards are really simple. They're just where you can store colors and then pull from them in other places of the account. So if you're going to be building lots of things graphically and you want to like change colors of buttons and websites really consistently, then I'd highly recommend creating a brand board. Very simple. You just throw in different colors and a logo. It's a very easy thing to do. Ad manager, we'll hit that in a second. And prospecting, this is just the prospecting tool from the agency level on the sub account level. And you can also resell this to your customers. Now let's go back and talk about the affiliate manager. Now this is another big highlight feature of HighLevel, which is an affiliate manager. Instead of using something like First Promoter or other platforms to manage affiliate marketing campaigns, you can do all of it in HighLevel. And it's actually a really good infrastructure for utilizing affiliates if you're new to the space. Essentially, how you can do it is you can invite in different affiliates or contacts that you already have, or people can sign up to be an affiliate via forms, which we'll talk about later. You can promote different websites in order to track leads and sales, and then you can automate payouts to affiliates on a commission structure. It's very simple to set up, and all you have to do is click Start Your First Affiliate Campaign or navigate to the Campaigns page of the Affiliate Manager, and you can get started building your very first campaign. Now, when you build your first campaign, you'll select payment gateways and all sorts of stuff to determine basically how you're going to collect revenue and designate it to different people. So if affiliate marketing is something you're really going to want to dive into, then I highly recommend going into this. It's not for everyone, but it can be really useful to actually grow your business. But there is a full installation flow in order to get started with affiliates here. Next, let's talk about the ad manager. Now, the ad manager can be an upsell. It can also be free. You can determine that on your agency level under the reselling settings, which we saw earlier. And the ad manager is just a simplified version of the Facebook Meta Ads Manager. That's really it. So whenever you go to the ad manager on Facebook in order to run Meta Ads on your desktop, this is just a little bit more of a simple platform to help you get started with some less settings and give your customers access to a very basic ad manager inside of HighLevel. Now, all of these features under the marketing tab are what's going to help you grow your business, and even you can sell these to your customers if you're on the SaaS plan. Things like email marketing, social media marketing, affiliate marketing, and running ads are basically all the different ways that you can get more attention for your business and drive more revenue. So it'd be really good for you to get familiar with all these different features just so your brain can think about new ways for you to apply these to your business. All right, now it's time to dive into the site section. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how websites, funnels, and all the different features under here work, starting by going across all of the different ones that we have access to. First, we have funnels. Funnels are great ways to generate leads, get appointments, and receive payments, and they're very similar to websites. I'll explain the differences between the two when we go into them in a second. Stores is where we can build things like e-commerce stores in order to sell products on HighLevel. So if you're selling physical products or even digital products and you just want to have them in a showcase with multiple products, you can do that via stores. This is generally if you're going to use multiple products inside of your HighLevel in order to sell. Next, we have webinars. Webinars gives you the ability to create and manage webinar funnels where you can host videos and share them with your audience, either live webinars or automated webinars on webinar funnels. Now, they have lots of templates for on-demand webinars and live webinars, and you can do both on HighLevel. Keep in mind, HighLevel does not host the video streaming or chat or anything like that. It's really just the same thing as a website, just with a link or a video embed to your webinar. Next, we have the analytics page, which is pretty straightforward. It just shows all of our analytics for our websites. Then we have blogs. Blogs are pretty straightforward as well. You can build blogs on HighLevel. You can build and manage all sorts of really great blog infrastructures inside of the platform. This is actually one of the more well thought out features of the platform that not a lot of people use because blogging is just not as popular anymore. But you can do a lot of cool stuff with blogs on HighLevel by essentially creating blog sites by clicking create blog and then creating blog sites on this platform, which can be tied to your regular websites, and then hosting lots of different published blogs on this infrastructure. Next, there's WordPress. WordPress allows you to connect your WordPress site to HighLevel in order to have your WordPress hosting inside of HighLevel itself. Essentially what this means is that if you already have a WordPress site, or if you just like building WordPress sites on the WordPress platform, but still want to utilize the affordability of HighLevel and all of the connections you have with domains and forums and calendars and all the other great parts of the platform, you can do that via the seamless WordPress hosting feature of HighLevel. All it costs is $10 per account, and you can resell it to your customers at any markup that you would like. Next is probably one of my top 5 favorite features of the platform, which is the client portal. Now, pay attention for this part because this is different than anything else inside of the platform. As you can tell, HighLevel right here is a backend. It's where we log in as business owners in order to get access to our business. But the client portal is a customer-facing app that HighLevel has for you to use in order to give to your customers and share things like courses, communities, live events, and so much more. Your client portal can host a ton of different features, and you can see all of this whenever you actually open your client portal URL. Your portal will have a custom login window just like this that HighLevel already has set up for you. They have the whole infrastructure set up to log in with secure codes and create accounts and all of that. And you can toggle on and off different features under settings. Now, besides the actual funnels and websites features, this is one of the biggest features that I want to take some time to go over with you. So under your client portal settings, you can configure 6 things: your domain, your app permissions, a chat widget, email settings, language settings, and branding. Really just pay attention to the first 3 here: domain, branding, and app permissions. Under app permissions, you can see the different apps that we can include in the client portal, such as communities, courses, affiliates, billing and subscriptions, contracts, estimates, and shared files. Think of this as basically, yes, a client portal that you can share with clients, and you can deliver all sorts of good information to them through courses, through affiliates, and all different things. And yes, whenever you turn one of these off, it will then be hidden from your client portal. You can also select a default landing page. So if you want to utilize this just as, let's say, an affiliate portal, then you can select affiliates as the default landing page, save this, turn everything off except for affiliates. And just like that, your client portal is now a dedicated affiliate portal. So this is a really great way in order to actually pick a couple of unique features that you want to give to your clients and utilize them right here. Now, the other awesome part of our client portal is our domain and our branding. So of course we can add our own branding to the client portal with our own portal name, description, brand colors, favicons, portal images, which is just what you saw on that login screen, logos, support emails, and of course, custom code in order to track things on this portal. Then, of course, with our domain, we can set up a custom domain such as clientportal.yourdomain.com, and this will be all completely white labeled. This is kind of the theme behind HighLevel. They don't really have any part of the platform that you can't white label. That's the point. So you can take every single part of the platform, white label it, stick your logo on it, and sell it to your customers, which is not only really good for making more money with the platform, but it just gives people a better experience. And I am all for giving your customers a great experience. So I really love the client portal. Now, the other really cool part about the client portal is this last tab, branded mobile app. So this is probably the easiest and fastest way to get a branded mobile app on the App Store, actually deployed to App Store and Google Play through HighLevel. And this is different than the HighLevel mobile app. These are 2 completely different things. The HighLevel mobile app is called Lead Connector, or it can be called HighLevel, and it also can be white labeled, but it's very expensive. It's in the thousands of dollars. So a lot of new people tend to not white label that mobile app. And that mobile app shows you calendars, conversations, texting, marketing campaigns, different things like that for business management. This mobile app is different, and this is the one that shows courses, communities, and tons of other different things. In order to get started with this, you can click Get Started, and it is just 50 freaking bucks a month in order to get started with a full service mobile app being delivered to the App Store. Now, it takes a couple of weeks to process all of your data. There's a lot of setup that goes into this. So if you have any questions about setting up your branded mobile app, like you want to launch a course app or a community app all on your own, feel free to drop some comments on this video. I've done it once and it is quite the process, but I have some things in order to help you get through it a little bit faster, such as a form with all the information that they're going to take after you pay this money, because there is a lot of things that you need to build. So I'd recommend building those things before you actually pay $49 per month. But this is really cool. And of course you can resell this as well. So you can mark this up to $200, $300 per month, which is totally worth it for the value that you're getting out of the client portal to your customers. So there's lots of fun stuff you can do with this. It's also one of the best ways to get push notifications on your customers' mobile devices. So if you're really serious about delivering courses or communities or affiliates or anything, and you want to deliver push notifications to your customers, this is a killer way to do it. Now, moving on from the client portal, we have forms, surveys, and quizzes. These are all kind of a 3-in-1, and I'll go over those in a second. We also have chat widget and QR codes. Your chat widget is a very basic builder that allows you to build chat widgets in order to put onto websites. If you want to learn more about this, go to the Launchpad, and you will see under Sales and Conversations, engage with visitors in real time with live chat. This video, I walk you through all of the steps to create a live chat widget and how the process works and how you can install it on your site. So that'll be the easiest way to get started for you. And of course, we have QR codes, which are very simple and actually really powerful inside of HighLevel, because there is tons of tracking and insights that you get with QR codes. So this is another case of, as long as you know how to use this feature, you can sell this to your customers really easily as an upsell or even as a whole business just around QR codes. I've seen people make entire Google review QR code businesses, and that's the only thing they sell, and they do really, really well. You can create QR codes on this screen. You can select different types of QR codes, so ones that go to websites, review links, call pages, and this gives you HighLevel's custom pages for these QR codes. It's So HighLevel has all of these custom screens for us. It's super cool. And we can even do things like business cards, profile cards, quizzes, all sorts of things. You can make a whole business just off of selling these profile cards or like link trees basically with QR codes. So tons of cool stuff you can do with that. It'll generate the QR codes for you. And it is an awesome way to utilize and scan and track QR codes inside of HighLevel. Now, moving back, let's go over quizzes, surveys, and forms. These are all three very similar, quizzes being the most different of the three. Quizzes is where you can build interactive quizzes to engage with users and collect information and then score. This is the best thing quizzes are at. So if you want to give users a score immediately after they complete a form or a survey or a quiz, then quizzes are the best way to do so. And you can use all sorts of different questions like single choice, multiple choice, yes, no, etc. The way these essentially work is you add in different questions. You can select if they can select bubble options or what the options are called, and then you can score them and add a score for the different options. So option 1 is worth 5 points, option 2 is worth 10 or 20, and then option 3 is worth 30. So that's how scores work. And then once they're done, your customers will see this sort of screen, which you can customize and add different percentages and everything and different categories into the scoring system. This is a pretty in-depth system. So again, I have a quiz video on the YouTube channel in which I go over exactly how you can utilize all the different parts of scoring and how exactly it works, because it can get kind of complicated, but that's what quizzes are for. Next, we have forms and surveys, which are identical except for one thing. Surveys are multi-step and forms are one step. That's literally it. So surveys, as you can see here, you have a next button at the bottom of the screen. If we go ahead and look at a preview of a survey, you can see we have multiple cards, multiple slides, and people can answer questions, click next, and then at the very end, they'll click submit. So depending on the UI that you have, this is what surveys essentially look like. Then we have forms, which are almost the identical same builder, but basically we can create forms, add in different fields, and then they get submitted via one button element, which you add to the form itself. Now within forms and surveys, they both utilize the same infrastructure for adding different fields. Basically, you take a field, you drag and drop it, and then whenever a customer fills in that field and submits the form or the survey, that information gets tied to their contact inside of HighLevel. So you can do all sorts of stuff like collecting information between personal info and custom fields. You can also sell products on forms by using the sell products action, and then you can connect to your payment provider, select a product from your sub account, and then you will now sell that product right here inside of the form. So remember I showed you custom payment links earlier. Forms are just a different looking version of a payment link if you want to utilize the forms infrastructure. So for an example, if you are selling a product that requires lots of details from a customer and you need custom fields and all sorts of stuff, then this is a great way to do so. This is also good if you want to collect information from a customer and then just have an upsell at the end of your form. You can do that as well using the forms and products elements. Again, you can just add on different elements from the left-hand side. Essentially, you can just throw them on to the form itself. Then you can also add in different elements which aren't fill-in fields like text, like hello, just like that. That's not a fill-in field. That's just a piece of the form. And then, of course, if you want to edit any of your elements, all you have to do is click the elements and click styles and options on the right-hand side, or you can click the element itself and it will open up a editing window for it on the right. But under the styles and options on the right-hand side, we can select between all of our different styles, like our layout of the form, our input style, what we want it to look like, our width, margins, labels, colors, backgrounds, miscellaneous, themes. HighLevel has all of these different themes which will apply to our form by default by utilizing the theme. And then under advanced, we can also configure things like borders, input fields, labels, etc. We can make some pretty good looking forms using HighLevel. Just you have to put in some time in order to know what you're trying to build and see what it's going to look like. For example, this is a form from my website design agency, XXI Designs, and this is a HighLevel form. It looks really dang good, and it's just because we put some time into making sure the borders look good, configuring the fonts, the colors, everything, and making sure it looks good on our site. So you can do a lot of fun things with forms. Now, whenever you want to integrate your forms, if you want to integrate them on a website like HighLevel, then you usually don't need to use any embed code or anything. We'll go over that in the website and funnel building section. But if you want to embed them on a different site, you can copy embed code just like this, configure different settings like where you want the form to show up on the site, and then you'll get embed code from HighLevel in order to put on the site. Now, one thing real quickly is the share link. This is the first time that you are getting the chance to see an API link. Remember all the way back in the beginning of the video when we talked about API white label domains on the agency level, right? We set up our white label domain like app.whatever to log in, and then also link.whatever. Well, this is an example. This is link.linkific, which is this dummy domain that I use for this agency. And this is an example of that API domain, which we're utilizing here. Now let's talk about utilizing these forms on websites and funnels. Now, I'm only going to go over one of these because the website and funnel builder both function nearly identically, because actually adding elements and doing different things between the two is identical. The only way that they look different is if you look at a website here. Websites function in pages. You'll be able to see this under here. So we have homepage, about us, contact us, etc. And funnels function in steps, but still the steps are just different pages. It's just a different word for steps. So if we go ahead and click a from templates, we'll select one of these templates right here. Then we'll go ahead and create our first funnel. Now, as you just saw there, all we have to do to create a funnel or website is click the blue new funnel or new website button in the top right. And then we can either select a template or we can select one from scratch. We're going to work with a template in this video because I'm going to show you exactly kind of how the funnel builder works, so you can learn a little bit about how to navigate it and customize funnels on your own. So now that our funnel has been built, we can see it here in funnels, and you'll see here are our funnel steps. It just replaces pages. That's literally it. They're the exact same thing. So now that you understand the difference between the two, let's navigate this UI before we dive into the website or funnel itself. We have a stats page, a sales page, a security page. None of these really matter. An events page, which lets us track events for Meta, and then settings. You'll go here the most often, mainly just to name your website or funnel pages and add your domain right here in order to set it live. Now, in the actual editor itself, I have lots of videos going over exactly how this editor works. There's a video on the Launchpad, you guessed it, of how to use this editor. But essentially, with the funnel builder, we have an AI tool on the left-hand side to help us build, but it's also good to know how to build them without your AI help. Essentially, websites and funnels both function off of a 4-tier system. We first, at the highest tier, have sections, and we can look at our sections by clicking this plus button at the top left, and we can see the different types of sections. A full width section makes the most sense right here. This is a section right now, and the website background is black, and if we wanted to change the background of this section, we could change it to whatever we want. Let's just go ahead and do gray. This is the very back of our website. Now, if we click add, we're going to add the next level, which is a row. So let's add a 2-column row. Now you'll see row is the next level and columns is the level underneath that. So remember, level 1 is sections, level 2 is rows, level 3 is columns, and one level beyond that are our elements. Now with rows, you can have multiple columns up to 6. You can resize these columns left to right to change how different pieces of the site are shown on this website. And if we want to add our elements, we can click add here, and then you'll see all of our different elements in the site itself. Elements are things like text, buttons, images, as you can see here. This is a great example of what we just built. We have a background section, then we have a row with 2 columns and 2 elements on either side. Then with our elements, we can actually format these however we want on the right-hand side. So in this side of our website, we can edit all of our element settings here in order to customize our site. So if we want to take this button here and configure its actions, we can configure it here under button actions. If we want to change its color, we can do that here as well. Then under styles, we can change its width, its background styles, its border, the border radius, and padding, and of course, where it is centering to the left, center, or the right. And we can configure all of that on the right-hand side. So remember, all of our elements we can configure on the right-hand side, and we can do the same thing for rows, columns, and sections as well. So just remember, whenever you select an element of your site, look to the right, look for any things you want to modify, and you can do so there. I'd highly recommend starting from templates, but also building out some websites from blank. It'll be really helpful for you. Now, the only other thing you need to know is that at the top right, we can save, preview with the eyeball icon, and publish. Publish means you are launching it to your actual domain. You can save without publishing. So if you're making edits to a live website, it won't immediately push out until you publish. And the last thing you need to know is on the top left, we have all of our different buttons for modifying things. 99% of the time, you're going to use the Add Elements button. Right here is our Ask AI button, which lets us get AI help to build our site. Our layers just shows us all the different layers of the site. Again, we're going in that 4-tier hierarchy of section, rows, columns, and elements, as you can see here. Then we then have our pages, which shows all of the website or funnel pages or steps. We then have tracking code, which if you use Facebook ads or Google tracking, anything where you need to add code to the site, this is where you'll paste it. You then have custom CSS. This gets into coding and you don't need to worry about this for now. Typography, which lets you configure general site-wide typography if you ever want to utilize the same fonts and colors over and over. We then have background, pop-up settings, SEO metadata, which is how you configure your SEO. Just go through each one of these sections and fill it in. If you don't know how to fill it in, copy it, paste it in ChatGPT. It'll tell you what to do. And then we have custom codes, cookie consent, and 2-column mode or auto. I would just go ahead and leave this in 2-column mode. It is the easiest way to utilize your sites. We can also preview our sites on mobile, and we can make custom mobile versions of our sites. So if we want this top section to look entirely different on mobile, we can turn off the mobile view or turn off the desktop view. And if we want, we can just duplicate this section, have one section for mobile and one section for desktop. Just like that, we have two different sections so we can configure both of them and make a mobile optimized site. That's the basics of how you can utilize the website and funnel builder. And of course, once you get them both done, you will need to launch them on a live domain. So let's go ahead and skip over to settings real quick and add our first domain to the platform. Under settings, domains, and URL redirects at the bottom left, we can purchase, transfer in, or connect domains. There's three different types of connecting domains here: purchase, transfer in, and connections. So what's the difference between these three things? An external domain is a domain that's purchased by another provider in which you add the HighLevel DNS records to it, similarly to how we did so with the emails. And then you allow HighLevel to point towards that domain. This is going to be the case for 99% of you if you already own a domain. But if you don't own a domain, you can purchase one right in the platform by simply clicking purchase domain, searching your domain name, and then you can find the domain name and buy it right in the platform. This is one of the easiest ways to get started. And yes, you can transfer it out if you ever leave HighLevel. Lastly, if you have a domain that's purchased on another platform and you want to transfer it into HighLevel for easier management, which I have done before, you can click transfer in domain and go through that process as well. We're not going to dive into that in this video, but once you have purchased a domain, you can then connect it to your site, like I showed you under the site settings right here in select a domain. Now that we're done with sites, let's move on to memberships. Now, remember that client portal app that I mentioned earlier? This is where you manage that content. So with your client portal, people get access to courses and communities, and you can manage both of those inside of memberships: courses, communities, and your credentials, which are just certifications. All those settings that we had in our client portal earlier on the other screen can be edited here under memberships. So I already walked you through that. Courses is what allows us to create and manage course products inside of HighLevel and sell them to customers and deliver them via the client portal. Again, I have a full playlist going over the courses infrastructure in HighLevel. It has changed a little bit, but if you want to learn more about how to build your first course, go to the Launchpad, then go to e-commerce, and then go to launch your first online course and start earning. This course will walk you through exactly how you can create your very first online course in the platform and sell it as a membership through HighLevel. And once you sell it, it will be ported into your client portal so people can get access to it. So I'm going to let that video do all of the work for courses because it's a pretty deep infrastructure, but it's great if you're trying to sell courses on HighLevel. Communities are a little bit simpler. You can create communities on HighLevel using just this simple create a community button. All you do is add in a name, a URL slug, and some logos and such, and you'll immediately have a community available. And since we're talking about communities, this is a great time to mention my community, how to use HighLevel. In case you're wondering, this is what the community's infrastructure looks like. You can add your logos, configure different channels, talk to your customers. You can have a live chat on the right-hand side. And of course, like we talked about earlier, we can see those courses under learning. So you can add different courses inside of your community, sell them, and give them to your customers inside of the community's infrastructure. So if you want to join the How to Use HighLevel community, just click the link down in the description. We do weekly live coaching, so I can answer some of your questions and help you out with your HighLevel account. And of course, have tons of bonuses like free leads, free email warm-up, free access to SaaS Suite, and so much more, especially for our affiliates. Now, what you're seeing here is the community. It is also the client portal. As you can see at the top right, this is where we usually have navigation. And like I told you, you can turn on and off different features. And for me, I have turned off everything except for communities because that's the only part of it that I use. And you can use that with your customers through HighLevel. So that is what communities are. They're super cool. And if you want to also give your customers certificates whenever they've completed courses, you can do so with credentials. That's exactly what it is. It's very easy to create certificates. You simply can use different templates and set out when they get issued to people. And then they will get a literal PDF certificate for them to use in order to showcase that they have completed your course in HighLevel. Lastly, we have the GoCollab marketplace. The community's infrastructure that HighLevel has is based on an app called GoCollab. Of course, you can white label and everything, but the non-white labeled version is GoCollab. And there is a full marketplace of different communities you can join by going to collab.com/discovery. You can see some other people that are utilizing the HighLevel infrastructure for communities and courses and connect with tons of other people. The next good thing to know about how to navigate is the media storage. You should know how to use the media storage inside of HighLevel, and fun fact, it's actually unlimited. So there's no limits on how many files you can upload to the media storage or size of files or anything, which is kind of a game changer. You're paying $100 a month for HighLevel, sure, but for all of your customers that you can sell HighLevel at really whatever price you want to, they're getting a great value add through just free freaking storage. It's super cool. So you can access the media storage by going to media storage. You can access Content AI up here in the top right with Content AI and create photos. This is something you probably won't use all that much, but just to upload files, you simply click upload, select a file from your computer, and you're good to go. Next, we have the reputation tab, which is where you can manage reviews. If you are working with local businesses or signing on local businesses that have Google business profiles, this will be really useful for you. And of course, if you need to collect reviews and testimonials from your customers, this is where that will all happen. Now, the reviews infrastructure kind of works like this. You can set up different review links going to Facebook or Yelp or Google, and then you can send out review requests to your customers, and you can manage these inside of automations too by simply sending them the URLs. Then these reviews will be collected and stored within HighLevel in this reviews section, and then you can display them on widgets, and they'll automatically update on any widgets that you create to add to your website. Additionally, you can collect video testimonials, which is really cool. This is a new feature from HighLevel, which by clicking Create Collector, you're creating a video testimonial collection system, which basically lets you include some titles, some logos, branding, things like that, and lets customers record a quick video, upload it to the platform, and then you can store it for yourself. This is another one of those features that you could technically kind of sell on its own and utilize really well within the platform because it's pretty thought out and has a full end-to-end solution as a video collector, and then you can store all of your responses here as well. We then have widgets, obviously, which is what I just showed you, listings, which lets us manage our business listings using our resold feature from Uberall or Yext. These are two external listing providers similar to WordPress in which you can pay for via HighLevel and then rank your website across all sorts of different platforms. This is great for local businesses, getting them listed in Alexa, OpenAI, the Yellow Pages, Yelp, a bunch of different platforms that they maybe aren't listed in already. I've used this lots of times and it is really helpful. I've used Yext. Uberall is their recommended source of getting listings through HighLevel, so feel free to try this out by clicking Activate Listings. We then have general reputation settings like turning on Reviews AI, configuring our review links, review balancing, what our SMS and email requests look like, spam reviews and integrations. And then lastly, we have GBP optimization, which is for your Google business profile, which just gives you some rankings and things like that for your Google business profile itself. Next, we have our reporting tab, which is pretty straightforward. We can do a few different things with reporting. We can first create custom reports, which just think of this as an external dashboard. You can apply the same exact dashboard widgets that we talked about earlier to reports and build custom reports and then schedule them to send to specific team members or yourself, or just to get access to them on the fly. Again, these are the same widgets as dashboards, and you can even import reports from existing dashboards like this by selecting a dashboard from here. In addition, into custom reports, we also have access to general Google Ads and Facebook Ads reporting, which is actually pretty helpful. There's a lot of good information here if you're utilizing Google Ads and you need your entire team to see the Google Ads account without all of them logging in. As long as you've integrated your Google account, you can see all sorts of data such as your campaigns, clicks, cost, revenue, different things like that. This is all just sample data in this account. And you can do the same thing for Facebook ads. So it gives you a very similar UI to show you all sorts of information, which is really helpful for you and your team. All you have to do is integrate your Facebook account again by clicking click here. We then have attribution report, which is just telling us where leads are coming from and how to attribute revenue to them. We have our call reporting, which is useful if you're doing cold calling. We then have our agent report, which is for viewing specific metrics for specific team members. So if you have, let's say, 5 different salespeople, then you can view all of their opportunities, conversions, email, SMS, call metrics, and more from the agent report screen. This is super helpful if you have lots of team members. We then have appointment reports, which allows us to see new appointments and more. We're probably not going to go here as you can utilize most of these widgets on the dashboard. And then we have local marketing audit as well, which is that same audit that we got from the prospecting tool from the agency view. You can see how that ties in there, which allows us to get marketing audits for different businesses by clicking Generate Reports Now, including information, and then generating a report specifically for your business. Now that we've hit reporting, we only have two menu links on the left-hand side left, which is App Marketplace and Mobile App, and these are pretty simple. The App Marketplace lets you integrate over 1,500 different apps from different developers with HighLevel. So if you have a question about something that you want to build, it's probably been solved by someone on the App Marketplace. And then we also, of course, have the HighLevel mobile app. But there is a video on the mobile app on my YouTube channel, so feel free to check that out to learn a little bit more about how the mobile app works. Essentially, it allows you to view things like conversations, contacts, and manage everything in HighLevel from your mobile device. The best way to use this is just to download it and learn how to use it. It's pretty straightforward, very easy if you know how to use the HighLevel desktop app. And last but not least, we have settings. Now, you might not think of settings as a feature, but there's a lot of features that are actually kind of hidden in settings that we can get access to by clicking settings right here. First one is our business profile, which you'd be surprised, but there's actually a few settings that we can configure on this page. If we scroll down to the bottom under general, there's a lot of different settings, which you can tell they've been moving to different parts of the account, such as opportunity settings, call and voicemail settings, number intelligence, SMS compliance, and more. But the one thing that is still here that isn't going away is the contact deduplication preferences, which allows you to allow duplicate contacts or not and find existing contacts based on phone, email, etc. There's a lot of different settings you can configure here, like statistics and merging contacts and contact time zones, things you don't really want to mess with a lot, but you can get to those on the business profile. Billing is billing. My Staff is where you add in team members, like I showed you on the agency view. Opportunities and pipelines has just a couple of pieces of settings, like allowing different owners on pipelines. Calendars is where you actually will create and manage all of your calendars. So funny enough, the entire calendars infrastructure is basically stored in settings. So this is done because HighLevel wants you to see your actual calendar and all of your bookings 24/7 on the calendars page and only look at your calendars widgets themselves inside of settings. So whenever it actually comes to building a actual calendar widget in HighLevel, you will come to settings out of all places, which is funny because you'll use calendars a lot. In order to create new calendars, you can click new calendar and then you can select the type of calendar. Just do personal booking for most things. Those are really going to be useful for you unless you have multiple team members or you need to have multiple hosts with one participant or classes like webinars and group trainings, things like that. And basically, whenever you create your calendar, you'll be able to configure your meeting details, which includes things like the title, the description, the group, the URL, the meeting location. All of these different settings can be configured here. Your availability, which will either pull from the individual who the calendar is for, or you can set specific availability for the calendar itself. Then you can select things like meeting intervals, meeting durations, date ranges, just mess with a couple of these numbers and see how they reflect in the live widget. Forms and payment, which determines what information you're collecting from your contacts. And yes, you can modify these by selecting a different form here. All you have to do in order to create a different form is add a form in the form settings and add whatever fields you want to collect on your calendar. So if you want to collect an additional piece of information like their favorite color, you need to add that field on your form and then select that form here inside of your calendar. You can then select your widget order if you want your contact to see the date and time selector first or the form first, and configure a couple of other settings on your calendar. You can also configure your notifications and follow-ups on your calendar. And this is one of the best places to do it because it doesn't get lost inside of workflows. You can go to the calendar specifically itself, and right here under notifications and additional options, you can configure all of your appointment booking emails and texts. So this is a great way to actually manage your appointment booking settings, like notifications for whenever an appointment is unconfirmed, confirmed, canceled, rescheduled, a reminder, and a follow-up. So if you wanted to create an email reminder workflow, that's great, but it would be easier to build one right here and just edit this setting, toggle on your email, and then under contact, select your trigger for, let's say, 15 minutes before the appointment, configure your email here, and then click save. And just like that, you now have your workflow created in order to send out your appointment reminders. You no longer need to do this inside of workflows. You can do all of this just in calendars. We can also configure our calendar under customizations with cover images, styles, different colors, and things like that. And when you're done, you can preview your widget, and this is what your calendar will look like. It'll have those titles, those different widgets. This will sync up with your calendar that you actually have connected to HighLevel, and then these will book appointments to your calendar. Now, again, remember, you can connect your calendars through connections. Talked about that earlier, but that is how you create different calendars inside of HighLevel in settings out of all places. Conversation AI, voice AI, these have both been moved to the AI agent settings, so don't worry about that. Email services is where you will configure your dedicated domain. So again, as we can see here, whenever we are actually ready to send out emails to people in HighLevel, this is the first thing we need to do. So make sure you're paying attention to this. As we talked about earlier, when we want to send emails from HighLevel, you have to have a dedicated domain. So make sure you go to email services, click dedicated domain and IP, and go through the process that we talked about earlier of clicking add domain, putting in the domain itself, and then getting those domain records and adding them to your domain itself. Once you do that, you'll be able to verify your domain by verifying that you've added all of these different records to your domain, and then you will be good to go. You can then send emails from this email specifically. Again, I would highly recommend you only send emails from this dedicated domain header, which you can set by clicking the three dots and then clicking set headers. Only send from this email because this is going to be your dedicated domain that you actually have set up with HighLevel. You'll see something else under this domain called warm up in progress, saying that you haven't actually warmed up your HighLevel email. It says 1 out of 1,000 emails a day, which for some of you might be a little bit daunting. Maybe you're only sending 5 or 10 or 100 emails a day. But once you start sending 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 emails a day with HighLevel, which you can do, you'll see why this is important. You need to make sure that you've warmed up your email because, as you can imagine, this is a brand new email on HighLevel. And I've talked about this lots over the course of the channel. You can look up email and see all of the different videos I've done on email marketing. But the gist is, whenever you create a new dedicated domain, this is a brand new email. And to email providers like Gmail, Outlook, and iCloud, whenever they see that email being sent to different people, they don't recognize it. So they're going to mark it as spam at first. So in order to get it not marked as spam, you have to warm up that email. I've built a team to manually warm up email accounts on HighLevel over the past 3.5 years, and it gets us an average of a 99% deliverability rate and 40 to 50 to 60% open rates on our emails. So if you need access to that, all you have to do is sign up for HighLevel under my links. The links are in the description. They're at GoFreeSaaS.com. And whenever you sign up, you'll have access to SaaS Suite in which you can submit for email warmup. And I will warm up your email for you inside of your agency with my team to make sure that you're getting good deliverability rates whenever you first get your email created. So if you're going to be doing a lot with email on HighLevel, I'd highly recommend you sign up under our links so you can get access to SaaS Suite, and we can warm up your email for you and guarantee that you'll be in the inbox in 3 to 4 weeks. Now, similarly to email services, we have phone system. These are where our phone system settings are configured, and we can do a lot of things from this screen. For one, we can purchase phone numbers, and that can happen by clicking add number, and then you can click add phone number and search up a phone number, select it, and purchase it by clicking proceed to buy. It costs $1.15 to purchase a phone number. It's very cheap, very easy. The only thing that can be troublesome for people with phone numbers in HighLevel is A2P, which you can find under the Trust Center. You won't need to worry about basically any other tabs here besides the Trust Center, and then you'll see right here A2P messaging. You'll have to click start registration and go through a process of submitting business information to confirm with the government that you are a real business sending out SMS to individuals. And you want to make sure that you go through this process and get your phone number registered. Otherwise, you won't be able to do texts and calls. If you want to learn more about A2P, just click learn more. This will go through an entire document to show you how to get verified. And if you're having trouble getting verified, simply reach out to HighLevel support. Now, there's a few other things that we can configure in settings like WhatsApp, which we can use with HighLevel, custom objects, custom fields, domains and redirects, external tracking, private integrations, tags, labs, audit logs, and brand boards. I'm only going to go over the ones that are really important to you right now. For one, there's labs. If you don't already have all your features turned on from the agency view, you'll be able to see all of the same features right here and turn them on in labs, just like that, in order to get access to them on the sub-account view. We can also create and manage tags here, but you probably won't come here all that often because you can create tags in basically any part of your account. You can make them whenever you're making automations. You can make them whenever you're sending a message to someone, whenever you're making contacts, all sorts of stuff. So you probably won't come here all that much. The API is where you can manage things like private integrations. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, integrations is a very useful screen where you should log into all of the different platforms that you use and connect them to HighLevel right here. This is where you connect your Google Calendar, your GBP, your Facebook and Instagram, different payment providers, TikTok, Shopify, LinkedIn, Google Ads, Slack, Printful, shipping partners, ClickUp, Notion, Airtable, Google Contacts, Basecamp, Typeform, Google Forms, and Asana. And there are more integrations always coming out for HighLevel on the platform. So if you have a question about something that you want to integrate with HighLevel, just go to the integration screen and you connect from here completely for free. Next, we have external tracking, which is just useful if you want to track form submissions and page views while you're using an external website. If you're using HighLevel, I'd highly recommend you just keep your website in HighLevel so you won't need any of this. Domains and URL redirects, we've already talked about. Scoring, you don't need to worry about for now. And now now we have custom fields and custom values. Now let me explain to you how custom fields and custom values work, because this is one of the last most important features of HighLevel. Custom fields and custom values are both tags that you can access throughout your sub account in order to pull in custom information. Custom fields are contact specific. Custom values are account specific. So things like a contact's business name, their city, country, state, and custom fields that you add specifically for contacts like their favorite color would be custom fields. And whenever you create custom fields under the settings, you can click add field, select the type of field like numbers or text or things like that. Then you can input a field placeholder, a group that the custom field is going to go on, add a custom name for the custom field, and then click save. And now this will be able to be accessed throughout the account using its unique key. That's what these two little squirrely brackets are around the custom field itself. And this is the same for custom values, except custom values are account specific. You'll notice you won't have any custom values to start, but these can be useful for creating things like your review URLs, custom calendar URLs, external websites or tools that you use with your team that you constantly reference inside of emails or SMS messages. And you can even use things like colors and images in order to constantly bring them in to the right places of the account. Whenever you build anything in your account like SMS, email, documents, invoices, payments, products, things like that, you can add in these custom fields and custom values depending on the product that you're using in order to pull in custom information so you don't have to retype it a million times. That's all these are. Lastly, I'm going to take just 1 minute and tell you about the API. Now, this is what we can get access to under private integrations. And also if we go to marketplace.gohighlevel.com/docs, you'll get access to the HighLevel API. Now let's take a breather before we go into this real quick. Remember when I told you at the beginning of the video, some people use HighLevel for their own business as an agency, and some people build SaaS on top of it in order to sell it and sell its features using HighLevel? And for those of you that want to build custom software on HighLevel or resell it yourself or even develop apps, the API is very important for you. All you have to do is go to the API website, click Get Started with API, and just explore some of the different API endpoints which you can use with HighLevel. Now, if you don't know what an API is just really how we can connect two different platforms on the internet. And in simple terms with HighLevel, it's how we can take information out of HighLevel, utilize it, or put information into HighLevel. We have different types of URLs which we can send and get information from. Whenever we're sending information to them, it's called a post request. And whenever we're getting information from them, it's called a GET request. For example, we have a calendars API here. So under calendars, we have get free slots, put update calendar, which is sending information, that's a post request, create calendar, which is also a post request. And we can utilize these different actions through this URL right here. Basically, all you do is you send to this URL different pieces of information, such as your sub account, a date, and any other pieces of information required for this specific endpoint. And then this action will happen inside of HighLevel. So you can utilize HighLevel without actually logging into it. And with the emergence of AI in the past few years, you can totally use AI platforms to interact with HighLevel using the API. I'd highly recommend you go to YouTube and learn a little bit about how APIs work and search up your specific use case for the API. Additionally, just explore through the API documentation and see some of the cool things you can do. You can interact with calendars, campaigns, appointments, companies, contacts, objects, conversations, courses, emails, invoices, payments, trigger links, media storage, SaaS, snapshots, surveys, users, so much stuff you can do with the API. There's literally hundreds of endpoints for you to utilize inside of HighLevel. So pick one, pick two, and mess around with them, test them a little bit, and see what you can do with it. I'm not saying it's necessary for your business, but I am saying it's necessary for you to know that it exists. So when you have a question in your mind, you can think about how can you solve it, and chances are you might be able to solve it with the API. Now, to utilize the API, all you have to do is actually create a private integration token by simply clicking Create New Integration and follow the steps from here in order to give it a name, and then add different scopes. Scopes are just what the API will have access to. So if you want it to only have access to read and view calendars, because it's a calendar specific app that you might be doing, then you can do that. Click create and you'll get a custom access token. But I'd highly recommend you move into that once you're a little bit more familiar with the HighLevel platform if you are new to it. But if you're experienced, then feel free to explore the API and start utilizing it today. Now, before you leave, let me give you a couple of tips and tricks for utilizing HighLevel so you can get the most out of the platform. First, stick to a couple of core features and learn those fast. First, pick a couple of features to become an expert in. You don't have to learn everything in HighLevel, but you do have to learn a couple of things that are going to apply to your business. So get really good at automations or websites or email marketing or one of the different features, and then just utilize that feature and then slowly move on to the next one. It can be a lot to swallow if you just deal with the entire platform in its entirety, so I would just start out with 1 or 2 different features. Second, if you're going to go down the SaaS route and sell HighLevel as an all-in-one solution, all of the features immediately right when you're getting started, I would highly recommend you learn the platform first, so that way you don't get yourself into a hole you can't dig out. What I mean by this is you might overpromise and underdeliver, or overdeliver and underpromise whenever you're selling HighLevel. You might not know everything about the platform, so whenever you're getting started and you want to sell it as a SaaS, I love the enthusiasm. Just learn the platform first, spend a weekend, spend a week learning how to utilize it, watch some videos, and then hop right into selling it. Next, I'd highly recommend you don't take this journey alone. HighLevel is a complex product, and luckily there's a lot of people that are here to help you along your HighLevel journey, including myself and my entire team of admins, which you get access to as long as you're under me as an affiliate. I've spent the past 4.5 years creating content and building my affiliate program so I can provide resources like free email warm-up, free leads, coaching, and admins to you guys completely for free since you are under me as an affiliate. So if you haven't signed up or if you're ready to upgrade, make sure you upgrade under our links either in the description or at GoFreeSaaS.com. And lastly, if you're going to resell HighLevel as your own white labeled SaaS, make sure it's branded properly using our free tools at SaaSSuite.ai, and make sure you have a good onboarding experience. Onboarding and education are the most important parts of HighLevel. That's why you're watching this video, so you can be educated on the platform. So you want to provide the same resources to your customers, and we can do so using SaaS Suite. SaaS Suite is an all-in-one platform for you to provide welcome videos, announcements, helpful links, onboarding checklists, and a full white-labeled educational guide for your customers to learn how to use the platform. We can also provide your customers 24/7 support via our AI system and our internal team members in order to help you support your customers better and manage support tickets on the platform. Like I said, you've got tons of resources at your disposal, so make sure you're using them. And if you have any questions at all about how to use HighLevel, feel free to drop the questions in the comments below. As always, my name is Andrew, and thank you very much for watching.